welcome to another edition of SpindleTV. Exclusive members night only. How are y'all doing? Hopefully everybody's doing well. Jared, how you doing, bud?
Doing good, man.
Wonderful. Outstanding. I'm trying to see assign participants to scenes. I got a new thing in Restream that allows to assign participants to scenes. I have to read what that's about one day and see what's going on with that. To see exactly what that's all about. And that is that. Let's see how. Give me just a quick moment. And we'll get this party started. Let's see here. Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Letting everybody get in. Tonight, we are going to walk through the entire process of, pricing a woodworking project. Now, when I say this, we're gonna talk about pricing a project kind of the right way. You know, we're gonna use math, so put on your thinking caps and stuff like that. Not too difficult math. It's very easy and straightforward and all that. But we're gonna use actual math and real business principles and everything. And pricing is one of those things that everybody struggles with, but nobody wants to admit that they're guessing. And we're going to make a project. We're going to design and make a project, and then we're going to actually price that project. And we'll use a program that I created for my shop, the BuildItTV Product Pricing Studio, to create an actual real-world price for, selling price for that project and everything. And the tool, BuildItTV Project Pricing Studio, is one that just kind of, it takes all of your costs and your prices and everything into effect. Labor costs, machine costs, fixed costs, and things. It puts it all in to play, into practice, and it will... it just helps. It makes things easier. So give me just a moment. I want to lay this out, and I'm waiting for everybody to jump in. I'm waiting for Restream to tell me that what people that I have in there, so I can see. I can see David's out there in the world. Burns is out there. Keith Kessler's out there. How you doing? Blaze GPS. Subarctic Detroit. That's Blaze GPS. That's you over there in Subarctic Detroit. JR, how you doing? But I am not gonna tell anyone that the temperature has dropped here in Florida, and it's freezing outside. It's 63 degrees. That's not freezing. So how many show of hands in the chat? How many of y'all are dealing with snow right now, or have already had your first winter snow and all that wonderful stuff? That's that's what I want to know. All right, give me just a moment here. All right. Let's see if I can get I'm trying to give me just a second, ladies and gentlemen. trying to get things to work. Let me see if I can get my session to work here. Platform supported through Chrome. Hang tight for just 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get the ball rolling here in just 2 seconds. It's one of those things where I had everything fully organized, and I just need to get everybody rocking and rolling here. It's amazing how. Hey, there's Chuck Fleming. How you doing, Chuck? Glad to get everybody in here. I had some cool interactions set up, and I really want to get that working. If I can get the extension working there. Wonderful. All right, that's step number 1. Let's see if I can get this extension works with Restream. Wonderful. That's outstanding that it does. And then almost there. Preview. It's insane that I worked very, very hard on this extension. I can't get it to, let's see here. Set up my stream. Good, wonderful. Add the channel. Got that. And now let's go into Restream. I know this is not the best of flowing here. Give me just a second, ladies and gents. In the, while we're talking amongst yourself, while we're in the chat.
Hello, Moto.
And what I'd like to see, what I'd like to, for you to do in the chat while you're waiting on me, what I'd like to know what type of woodworking projects that you mostly build. Whether it be cutting boards, CNC signs, furniture, plaques, gifts, whatever you're into. Tell me in the chat what you find yourself mostly building, and just please have the patience of a saint with me tonight while I get everything set up properly. And this is the add, copy this link. I'm wondering if I gave it the wrong link to join. So let me hit copy on this. I think I gave it the wrong link. Give me just a second here. Paste that right there and hit schedule session. Continue. And then get ready. You'll pick the platform and turn the audience into get ready to present. Wonderful. And it says platforms. Got it. Stream a live chat. Now I can go into here and click on this. It's loading. We might be getting somewhere, ladies and gents. It's loading. I got it set up for 8:15 because I wasn't sure if the interaction part of this, I wasn't sure if 8 o'clock I was going to be late with the phone call that I was on. And so it'll kick in a couple minutes here. But let me know in the chat what it is. So we've got, let's see here, LED backlit clocks. Awesome. Christmas decoration and games. That's cool. Do you still have your website? I do, but it was down for maintenance and everything. So there is a new site. Part of the site is up. And in the link or in the chat, I will, in the chat, I'll put a link to it. What do we got going on here? BuildItTV.com. BuildItTV.com. Right. Yeah. There's that. And that's a portion of it. All right, so let's talk about the project. Let's switch over to, let me get you guys off of this screen. And let me get you over here. And then let's close all of these tabs. Got all these tabs open. Close that. Open up Aspire. The project that we're going to be working on tonight, this Christmas sign, is going to be done in Aspire, but it can be done in any of the projects. It's going to be kind of a text-on-text situation. 12.5. All right. Okay. All right, let's switch you over to the other screen. Entire window. Here we go. All right. So tonight's project that we're going to work on is going to be a Christmas sign. And the size of the sign is going to be 28 inches in length. It is going to be 15. All right. So tonight's project we're going to work on is going to be a Christmas sign. And the size of the sign is going to be 28 inches in length. Hold on a minute. It is going to. I had to mute you there, JR. Sorry about that. Your microphone was coming across the screen, so I was listening to myself. What I need is, let's go back to the project size is going to be 28. The height is going to be 16, and the thickness is going to be 3/4 of an inch. We're going to be touching off on the material surface. We're not going to be cutting anything out tonight, and I like to start from the bottom left corner and that'll be that. And we're going to click OK. Now, when we're doing, and let's go big. Let's go here, main screen and everything. When we do a stack text or a text on text type of sign, we're going to always set up our layers first. That makes the project, you know, that much easier. So the first layer, I'm going to call it layer 1, the default layer. I'm going to call it original. I'm just going to rename it to the original layer. And then we have our additional layers. Now we have our, it doesn't necessarily always have to be text or anything like that, but for ease of information, we're going to call it top text. The second layer that we're going to add, we'll call it the bottom text. And the third layer that we're going to add is going to be our welded text. And then finally, if there's anything at the bottom of our text, which in this sign there's not going to be, we have what we call a lower third layer. And I call it lower third, kind of just like, you know, like they say in television and broadcasting, everything, the lower third of your screen, you know, where all your little pop-ups and everything happen. This is where, you know, if we have dates or established dates, or we have little things that aren't part of this, what the stack, you know, what's on top of each other, it goes or belongs in the lower third. It belongs in that layer. It doesn't have to be at the bottom. It could be at the top, on the sides. It could be anywhere, but it just doesn't go with the stacked letters, the stacked text, the text on text, however you want to word it. It's considered the lower third. Now I'm still going to create that layer even though there's nothing going to be in it, but we'll have that. So this is our project here. Now, because there is going to be it's going to be raised, you know, and everything, we need a border. And when I make a border in the software, I like to use the keyboard shortcuts and the little shortcuts for the software's calculation edit boxes, if you will. And so we're going to start, the anchor of this rectangle is going to be at the center of our board. And since I'm starting in the bottom left corner, I need to figure out what that center is. I could do the math in my head, but it's just as easy for me to go X divided by 2 and hit the equal key, and then Y divided by 2 and hit the equal key to get the center of that project, that 14 by 8. I do want decorative radius corners, those internal radius corners, and I do want them to be about 1 inch in radius. And I want the whole border offset to be about 1 inch off the edges. So I'm going to take in my width box. I'm going to say X minus 2, 1 inch on the left, 1 inch on the right. Hit that equal sign. And I'm going to say Y in my height box, Y minus 2, inch at the top, edge at the bottom. And we're going to hit create. Give me 2 seconds here. Give me 2 seconds here. All right, give me a second. Let me just do a voice text real quick. I am teaching a class for the next hour and a half. I will not be available to call you until then. I can call you tomorrow to place your order, or it'll be this evening after 10 p.m. Okay. All right. So this is what the border is going to look like. And hopefully y'all can see that pretty decently and everything. Let's see how we're doing here. That's crazy. That, all right. Now, making sure that the original layer is the active layer, because everything I do, I want it in that layer, and I'll separate it to the other layers after the design is done. we want to design in the original layer. So what I want to do is we're going to start off with our text, our back text and everything. And for this one, we are going to, it is going to be kind of a Christmas sign, and it is going to say the word Christmas. I haven't decided 100% on which text I want to choose, but we're going to start off with not the, I don't think I'm going to use Black River Bold. I think I'm using the Milk Store 03. Let's type out the word Christmas and see how it goes. Now, I'm actually going to do Christmas in all capital letters on this. And I'm going to get it sized here. All right, I'm going to kind of scrunch that down and widen that up. I'm actually going to move it up a little bit high. I do think that is going to be, and once we get past the project here in just a few minutes, then we're going to talk about the pricing of it, and we're going to have a discussion on, everything. But I really, really wish let me see here. Let me try one more thing real quick. Let me copy, invite. This is the copy link. Let me try really quickly one more time. Let me try really quickly one more time to choose. It's crazy. It's crazy. Let's see if I can, I'm going to choose a different paste. I'll paste that link. And we'll see if it comes up on the stream in just a minute. We'll see if it kicks on for me because the other link did not work. Kept saying loading, loading, loading. That's what it just keeps saying. Can't believe I almost spent money on that little app, and I thought, you know what? No, I'm going to try the free version first. All right, let's go to down to the M's. I'm going to be using the Milk Store fonts. Now, I don't know if it was a live big public class or if it was a private class that I showed the farmhouse sign, that laser engraved farmhouse sign a couple weeks back. Might have been more than a couple weeks back now, but I talked about heritage type fonts, heritage type, the website that sells a very few select set of fonts, but they're really great. There's a lot of different choices on. One of the more recent fonts that I had purchased was what's called this Milk Store font, and it is really, really a nice font. Let me see here. It's not that one. I think it is going to be. Oops. I think we are going to go with that one right there. Now, for the Christmas sign for the stack text, Christmas is going to be the back word, and then the front words, I had them in my head. Hold on a second. Let me get the Christmas. Let me see if I can get the wording again. Yeah, believe in the magic of. It's a lot. Believe in the magic of Christmas. Let's see if I can get that to fit in this sign. And I really do. Let's see if we can get that in there. But believe in the magic of. Now, of course, I had my cap locks on. We don't want that. Turn them off. Let's try that one more time. Believe in the magic. Let me get my spelling right. And for this, we're going to do a bit of a decorative type font. And it's going to be much smaller. It's only going to be maybe like 2 inches tall. And let's get that centered. Now, on this font here and everything, and again, let's get that. I put it up high because I thought I was going to do something really nice down here, but let's get it centered on the board. And I will do something nice at the top and the bottom. But I honestly like on the stack text and everything, a lot of people, if you ever see stack text signs, you'll see where they put the text right in the middle in most examples and everything. And for me, that's okay, but I like it at the lower part of the back text. I like to be able to kind of see. And for me, depending on what the words are or what's going on, it kind of takes away from the stuff that's behind it, and it's hard to see and everything. Now, on Christmas, I do want it to be slightly a bit taller, not too tall. And with that, since I made the change in the size, believe in the magic of, I actually want that to be a little bit taller. Not so tall as to where it distorts it, but tall enough that it makes it kind of, a decent size and all that. Now, what I'm trying to say earlier is I like my stack text, the top text, I like it kind of in the lower third. We're talking about lower thirds tonight, but I like it kind of on that lower third. I like to be able to see the word, and then, but I like to be able to see, something on there. So I always kind of, for me, it's just a thing. I kind of hang it off the bottom of the text like you see here and everything. All right. So for this is going to be those two things are going to be the stack. And then whatever I put at the top or the bottom, that is considered the lower third, even though that goes in the lower third layer, even though it's at the top and the lower third, the bottom, right? The top third and the lower third, right? Kind of deal. So it doesn't matter. Anything that is not touching the stack, anything that is outside of it, I don't care if it's on the left side, the right side, the top or bottom, it doesn't go in the top text layer, the welded text layer, or the bottom text layer. It goes in its own little layer, and we call it the lower third. So for this, for that one, I'm going to import a graphic image. And on the graphic image, it's going to be, let's go to my desktop. It's going to be kind of a flourish of sorts, if you will. And let me see what I've got going on here. Let's open it up. Okay, let's get it sized up here. And the one that going to do on here, we want to kind of have it somewhat where it kind of evens out. It's not too thick, not too high, and all that stuff. And I think I'm going to go with this little dotted one right here. So let's go in and do our bitmap trace. Let's convert it to a black and white. I'm going to just draw a box around what I want to trace. Literally just draw a box right around it. And I'm going to do default corner fit. I'm going to do a noise filter. I want to turn this up to 75. That's my magic number. 75, you know, between 50 and 75 for most tracings is a good threshold. And then anything beyond that, it starts to kind of pick up noise and trash and everything. Now, in the box that I drew, I literally just drew a box around what I wanted to trace. Of course, the box was around other stuff, so all the other stuff got kind of picked up with it. So all we do is simply ungroup it, delete what we don't want, all the little miscellaneous stuff that got kind of selected with my little box. We're going to turn it 90 degrees. I'm going to hit the number 0 on the keyboard. Let's get it sized up. This is only 1/2. There's another half here, but I want to move this into place. And let's send it down. You sit right there. I want to mirror it to the other side using the mirror tool. Check off the box that says create a mirror copy, flip about job center. And before I completely mirror that, I want to move it to the left and do that again. I want to come all the way over. I want to be a little way further over than that. So let's get rid of this one here and do that one more time. Mirror, flip it horizontal. There we go. In the middle, I want to draw a rectangle, a little skinny rectangle that's going to kind of represent a line. And oops, that rectangle had radius corners. We don't want that. I want square corners. Okay. I do not want on this group here, I do not want these 3 circles. I want to get rid of them. Delete, select, and just delete them. I want this to be brought into here. I want to use the scissors in just a minute, but let me get rid of the circles on this side. Delete. Bring this side over. And I'm bringing it over to where the edges are right in line where I want to go. I want to get everything. I'll get everything centered in just 2 seconds here. Okay. Now, I'm going to select the left side, G for group. I'm going to select the right side, G for group. I'm going to hold down the shift key now and select all 3. And I'm going to use the alignment tool to align them all up and down to each other, to the last selection kind of thing. And I want to get them just, you know, centered. This way on the, let me pull this over. This way, when I do my weld or I'm not going to do my weld. When I do my scissors here and trim, oops, ungroup, can't trim a grouped object. U for ungroup. The only reason I grouped everything was so I could center it. So let me ungroup it again. Now I'm going to use the scissors and trim. Wonderful. Trim. Okay. Now, as a whole, I'm going to make sure that I'm aligned on my material now, left to right. I am. And I'm going to flip that mirror. I'm going to flip it vertically now because I want it at the top as well. Okie doke. Now, on here, bring myself up to where I'm not hanging so far off the back. There we go. All right, so this is the sign, ladies. This will be our sign for tonight's demonstration. All right, let's see where you all are. I have lost you. There you are. How you doing, guys and girls? Let's pop up the chat. And Chuck says, might be your side. You lost the picture. Did everybody lose the picture or just Chuck? Sorry, Chuck, I didn't see that till just now. Did everybody see the picture? Or did everybody lose their picture? Make sure everybody can still see. Let's see here really quickly. To my earlier question, JR said that he makes plain and boring wood bases that are circles, squares, and rectangles, triangles, half moons. And that's awesome. Let's see here. And then Chuck says, still haven't started yet. Just curious what folks that are not working on a source of income. Okay, cool. So now the next question that I have for you and everything. Bear with me just a second, ladies and gents. I love it when a plan somewhat comes together. Hang tight, hang tight, hang tight. I had all of tonight's, I had everything, man, I got everything done so perfectly, and I had it laid out so very well. But Windows and everything had a Windows had other oh, what am I trying to say? It had other plans in mind for me. So it said, no, we are not going to do that. We're going to do it our way, and it screwed up my whole view here. Okay, so let's switch this to here and here. The there's a new feature in the browser, ladies. You'll understand what I'm struggling with here. I'll tell you in just a second. There is a there's a new feature in the browser where you can split your view, right? And for some odd reason, I'm either not smart enough to figure it out or that, but it's got me it's got me all discombobulated here. There we go. All right. So give me 2 seconds, everybody. I finally got the views working. This is all part of the growing pains of going live. Almost there. Section number 2, Lainey. Section number 2. All right. Now, on our sign, sorry, everybody. I'm trying my best to keep everything organized, and I only have so many screens working for me, and it's just caused me a little bit of a headache that the wonderful and amazing interactions didn't kick in. So we'll have to figure out why that didn't happen. I had some cool graphics and interactions for us tonight that were pop-ups, and they really looked, I mean, they looked amazing and everything, but for some reason, life is not working. All right, so you did wonderful with that first question in the chat. Now, the second question is that I have for you, and I want you to be honest on this one, but when it comes to pricing things, how confident are you in your pricing strategy? And what I'd like, and with that being said, what I mean is, with that being said, what I mean is, do you have a pricing strategy that you use? And in like a word, one a word to answer, we'll do it this way. Let's do it this way. So how confident are you in your current pricing strategy? That's, or your process or whatever. This is what I want in the chat. So A, you have no system and you just guess. That's A, no system and just guess. B, you kind of know what you're doing, but not fully. I kind of know what I'm doing when it comes to my pricing and all. I got a little bit of an idea, but not really. That's B. C, I feel confident sometimes, but not always. Okay. C, I feel confident sometimes in my pricing and stuff, but not always. And or D, I've got a well-defined pricing system that covers everything, right? So that's, I have no system. I just guess. A, kind of know what I'm doing, but not fully. B, feel a little bit confident, but not always. C, or I've got it locked and loaded and I'm fully confident and I've got a well-defined strategy. In the chat, A, B, C, or D. Let me know what's going on there. And let me see. I got Kevin. I got somebody popped in here. Oh, Kevin Kuhn. Let me just say hi to Kevin. And Kevin, I'm going to mute your microphone. There you go, buddy. How you doing? Let me unmute your mic to answer that question. But how are you doing, Kevin? You doing all right, man?
Good. I just was carving that one with that tiger we did the other day. It turned out fabulous.
Outstanding. And Kevin, I'll get with you and stuff and on the timing that, the question you asked about, setting the time and stuff. It'll be something I'll probably throw in here in tonight's class and stuff too. So stay tuned for that. And then we'll get going, but stay right there. I want to pull you up on screen. Let me pull Kevin up on screen real quick because he's showing a project. Give me a second, Kevin. Let me go maximize here. Nice. So just so you all know what's going on, Kevin's got a plaque here. He's doing epoxy fills. And so that is going to be the highlights of the epoxy. Is that true, Kevin, or is that false?
Yeah, the maroon is the base of it, and then there'd be the customer's going to fill in the yellow and the white in some of the areas.
Yep.
Make it a full tiger.
Yeah, awesome. That came out really good. And guys and girls, if you saw the graphic of the kind of what it looks like when all the epoxy, it's really a cool little. I'm assuming it's their mascot and everything. And everybody, just so you know, the camera is showing. It shows in reverse on our screens and all that stuff. But that looks really good, Kevin. That's a big old board. I didn't realize the plaque was that big, but
that's 24 by 18.
Yeah, there you go, man.
It was a little over 3 hours of carving.
Nice. That's awesome. That's good. Well, stay tuned because we're going to be talking about pricing projects and everything, and we're going to we'll be pricing the Christmas project that we're making right now, but it might relate to kind of what you're doing. So let's get back to that really quickly. Thanks for joining us live, Kevin. So on the poll, I see some A's, B's, and C's. Wonderful. Good. And then let's get back to the design right now. So at this point, this is our original design. It's done. Now we need the next step in a stack tech sign is separating all of the parts, okay, and putting them in their appropriate layer. So first things first, the back text, let's go ahead and click off here. The back text, I'm going to go ahead and right click on it and move, not move, that was a lie, copy to layer, and it's going to be the bottom text layer. So that's the word Christmas. The top text, which is believe in the magic of, that is going to get copied to the layer top text. And then the two flourishes, this one at the top and this one at the bottom, those get copied to the lower third layer. Make sure that we turn off all of the layers for the moment except for the original. Keep it on and keep it bold and highlighted and everything, but turn everything else off. And then finally, the border. Now, the border goes in two places, okay? It goes in our top text layer, and then it goes in our welded text layer. So we're going to right-click and copy to layers, the top text, and then we're going to do that again. Right-click and copy to, and this time welded text. So now if we turn off the original, we should have in the top text layer the border and that top text that was on top, that stack. The bottom text should be just the word Christmas, no border, no nothing. The welded text at this moment in time should just be the border. And the lower third should be our two flourishes. And ladies and gentlemen, this is literally everything that we're doing in this project. If you're ever doing a stack tech project, whatever it is, no matter what, you know, hopping down the bunny trail for an Easter project, whatever, right? You know, that kind of thing. Happy Easter, that type of thing. The steps are always the same. Create your layers, create your original design, and separate those. And the border always goes on the top text layer and the welded text layer. Bottom text goes on the bottom text layer. Top text goes on the top text layer. And anything that's not part of the stack goes in the lower third layer. Just that's kind of the catch-all. Now, you'll have to forgive me for a second, but I am burning up in this big old heavy sweater inside the shop. So give me a second to rip it off real quick, because Lord have mercy, it's brutally hot. Let me get the microphone off me so it doesn't sound all crazy when I rip the thing off. Lord have mercy. All right. I feel like a human being again. Okay. Put my microphone on. Fix my hat. Okay. There we go. All right. All right. So now that we have all of the layers separated, we turn off the original layer. Now here's two things that I like to do with the original layer. Once it's made, and I've separated everything, you know, copied everything down to the other layers, I like to lock the original layer so it's there and it can't be screwed around with or moved unless I actually unlock it and move it. And then I turn that layer off, and then we just start working down the layers one at a time until we're ready to make the tool pass, okay? All right, so here we go. On the top text layer, there's only two things that we do in the top text layer. Number one, we fix any overlaps on our cursor. If we have like a script text, which we do, this text has overlaps. We fix those here by selecting the text and welding it together. And in this case, Make sure, now this is important, make sure that before we hit that weld button that we're in the top text layer. We want everything to happen in that layer. So make sure it's active and bold. I forgot to mention that before I hit the button, but that layer, you can see it at the top text there. And we actually want to replace, not keep, because we have our original in the original layer, right? That's there. So this is replace. It gets rid of the welds, replaces it, done. Okay. Now, the second thing we do to this, once it's welded together, we group it back together. Group it back together. Okay. Weld group. Now, the second and final thing that we do in the top text layer always is we have to offset the border inward based on our offset distance that is calculated by how deep our cuts are going to be for the top and bottom text layer. Not total, but each layer, like 1/8 of an inch and 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 and 3/16, whatever that depth is. We take that number and we're going to be offsetting based off of that number and the angle of the V-bit that we're using. So very quickly to demonstrate that, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to be using a 60-degree V-bit. So over here off to the side, I'm going to draw a 60-degree V-bit. And I'm going to, at the tip of that bit, I'm going to draw a line straight across at 0 angles. And what this is going to simulate, let me make sure that the line is on the tip, right at the tip. What this simulates is the bit sitting on top of the board, right? Imagine your V-bit sitting on top of the board at Z0, okay? So it's just sitting on the board. Now, how deep am I cutting this? Am I cutting 3/16? Am I cutting 1/8 of an inch and that kind of thing? And on this one, now I love 1/8 of an inch deep cut. I love 1/8 and 1/8 for a total of 1/4. I think it looks really, really, really good and everything. And that's my kind of go-to. But on this one, I'm actually going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to do 3/16 and 3/16 for a total depth of 3/8. Okay. So that being said, I take the line and I move it from the tip. And again, it doesn't matter that I'm not, that the end of the line is not on the tip. It doesn't matter, but I'll put it there. We just snap it to the tip there. But we move that line relative move, up on the y-axis 0.1875, 0.1875, and move it up to that cut depth. Now, what we're seeing here on the screen is a visualization of when my bit, my 60-degree V-bit is cutting 3/16 of an inch deep. That tip of the bit is going to be down in the wood by that 3/16. And where the surface meets the edge of the bit, that distance, that intersection, let's say, from there to where the actual tip is cutting in the wood, that 60-degree angle, there's an offset. That's our magic number. So we take our tape measure, our dimension tool, and we measure, let me get my words straight, horizontally from the tip to the intersection. So click on the tip, click on the intersection, and that's going to give us the offset distance. And in this case, it's 0.1083. That's the number. That's our magic number, 1083. Okay. So in this top text layer, now this is very important. If you do draw out your bit and that line and you do all your measurements and stuff, I don't care what layer you're in when you do that, write the number down, do whatever you got to do, but then make sure that that number is deleted and the V and the lines are deleted and they're not in the layer when it comes time to calculate your tool pass, because we're going to be associating tool pass with layers. And if there's any vectors floating out there, it's going to make your bit travel out to wherever that is to try to cut whatever's out there. You know what I mean? So 1083 is our magic number. Write it down and then delete that little drawing that you did. Get it out of there. Okay. All right. Everybody still with me? We're still good. So locked and loaded on the bases. Guesstimating for years. There you go. So solid Bs. We got some Cs. And what's surprising, for the participants and everything, and it's great. Not surprising, but it's not. What's not surprising is D's, right? A lot of us that are, we have home-based businesses, we have, small shop businesses. Some of us could be big, massive corporations at this point or whatever and all that stuff. But a lot of times we've got a home-based business and stuff, and, we price emotionally, what we think, feels right, what we think that someone will, what would they pay? I don't want to overcharge. I don't want to be too heavy. And emotions have no place in pricing. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in just a second. All right, let's, your customers will respect your time and everything if you price consistently. And that's what tonight's lesson is going to be about here in just a few minutes, is pricing consistently. All right. So the next interaction, thank you all for participating in the chat with those, with the questions and everything. We are moving along in the design, but now I just mentioned the word emotionally, right? Emotionally versus mathematically is kind of what I'm leading into. Let me get my thoughts straight here, because I want to say this. I got it all scripted out and written down because I wanted to be impactful, but when we're talking about emotionally versus mathematically pricing and everything, that feeling of, I don't, let's go $75 or $10 or $50. I think they'll pay that. I don't want to overprice. I don't want to seem too high and all of that stuff. You're getting in your feels and you're worried about what the other people are thinking and what they're going to think of you, or if they're going to buy if I'm too high and all that stuff. And it makes, from one project to another, it makes it very difficult for you, right? The business, right? It makes it very difficult for you. One, you're pricing emotionally and all that stuff. One, probably because, I don't know what to charge. I don't know how to come up with a good price. I don't have a system and things like that. And what's happening is number one, you're leaving money on the table. And it's not all about profits and everything, which, profits is what keeps a business in business, right? So there's two things. We have our profit margin, right? Our profits, and then we have overhead, right? An overhead basically is our fixed costs and everything, machine costs, and it's everything that's required to keep a business going, right? And then profits, your profit margin, everything is, one, that's your paycheck, but also it's what keeps you in business, right? It keeps you, so you have money to live, so you have money to, put into your business and things like that. So the next question I have for the chat as we're moving along here and everything is, and I want you to do this in one word, if you can, okay? I want you to try to think of an answer in one word, one or two words, right? And I'll give you examples and everything, but here's the question. What for you is the hardest part of pricing your work? Okay. What for you is the hardest part of pricing your work? Like materials, time, machine use, overhead, competition, fear of losing customers, etc. Whatever it is, right? What is your hardest part of pricing your work? What is it, the hardest part for you that you think is, it could be anything, right? What is the hardest part for you? That's what I want to know. And with that question being asked, let's move on to back onto our design here. Sorry, you did lose the screen. I noticed that when I'm in another screen, it blanks out this screen. I do not know why, ladies and gentlemen. So, but I'm still here. Okay. That was weird. I don't know why that blanks out like that. I saw it too. Whoever was saying that, Chuck, I saw it too. I saw it blank out. All right. So we got our welded text. We got our magic number, 0.1083. We have to move the border in by that much. And when I say move, I don't mean move. I mean offset. Sorry, the wrong word was move. Offset. So we're going to use the offset tool. We're going to offset inward. The magic number is 0.1083. I do not keep sharp corners when we offset, but I do delete the original. We got to delete the original. And when I say the original, I'm talking about the one that's in this layer right now, not our original that's locked up on our, on our design. But we get rid of this one and we create a new one. And so delete original and select new are checked, and we hit offset. Boom. It moves in that 0.1083. The other one disappears. We are now 100% done with the top text layer. We've done everything that we need to do as far as its cleanup and offset. The last and final thing we do before we move to the next layer is we select the text and right click on it, and we copy that text to the welded text layer. Copy it to the welded text layer. Okay? So after it's cleaned up and grouped back together, all the overlaps are gone and it's grouped back together, we move the border inward. We offset it inward by whatever our little offset number is, and then we copy that grouped fixed text down to the welded text layer, and we now move out of the top text layer. We're all done with it. Turn it off. Turn on the bottom text layer. Now, bottom text layer is easy peasy. There is nothing that really needs to, a lot of times there's nothing that really needs to be done with the bottom text layer. There's no overlapping that we have to get rid of or any of that stuff. The only two things that we have to do is, number one, make sure that we're in the bottom text layer and it's active, right? It's bold and active, very important. Number two, we select the text and we convert it to curves. That means it breaks it out of the font stage and makes it vectors. And we group it back together. That's it. Convert it to curve. Boom. Explode it out of the font and turn it into a vector. Group it back together. Once we do that, we then come down and copy that to the welded text layer. All right. Now, here's something that's very interesting. The bottom text layer, its only purpose is to hold the bottom text. It actually does not get a toolpath created off of this layer. There's no toolpath that's created for the bottom text layer in our project. We only create toolpaths for the top text layer, the welded text layer, and if we have anything in that lower third layer, that gets calculated too. But the bottom text layer, its only purpose is to hold the bottom text so we can convert it to curves, group it back together, and then make a copy of it down to the welded text layer. That's it. So once we're done with that, turn that off. Now we can focus on the welded text layer. Okay. And on the welded text layer, there are two things that we have to do. Number one, the top text that's here has to be offset outward using our magic number again, that 0.1083 for the offset. Okay. So on the welded text layer, make sure that layer is active. Again, it's very important because otherwise it'll throw the offsets on the other layers and it throws everything off and it makes it so difficult to kind of figure out, oh God, what happened and what do I do to get back? That's the biggest fail when someone's designing a text on text or a stack text design like we're doing. The biggest fail is not making the layer that you're working in active. And when you do these offsets and you do these convert to curves and you break the, you know, all that stuff, it puts it on the original layer and it mixes everything up and it screws everything up, and you got to kind of start over, right? So make sure that the layer is active, bold, welded text layer, that's what we're in. And then once that's done, now we take our top text, offset it outward by our magic number, 0.1083. Now this time, again, no sharp corners. Delete the original, select the new. Very important. If you don't have select new on there and it offsets and you have to go back and pick every little letter for that offset so you can group it back together, it's a nightmare. So make sure that select new is checked, hit offset, and then immediately close that tool and group it back together. Now, it's going to look crazy when you offset it. The letters are not going to be legible. The inside of the letters are going to be missing. You're going to have little bitty little specks of what seems to be like vectors. Everything just kind of puffed up and blew up and all that. And while it looks crazy and weird, it's 100% what you want. That's what you want. What this is creating the boundary around your actual top text. What I mean by that is when I actually, in just a moment, when I turn that top text layer on, it's gonna house itself inside that crazy looking offset that we just created, this funky looking offset. All right, so we offset it outward, we group it back together. Don't click anywhere when you offset. Don't click anywhere before you group that back together. Otherwise, it deselects what you just offset, and you got to go in there and pick everything. And imagine when you're going in there, imagine how easy it would be to miss that little piece right there, right? You know, and stuff like that. Or these little pieces right in here. Imagine that, you know, going, oh God, I got to hold my shift key down and click on all this or try to select it. It'd be a nightmare in some cases. All right, now we got the offset grouped, okay, blown up and grouped back together. That's the first step that we do in the welded text layer. The second thing is we take our group of our back text, the word Christmas, and we take our group of the front text and we weld the two grouped objects together. We weld using the weld tool. Click on weld. All right. You don't need to group this back together at this point, but if you wanted to, you could. It's not required because it's going to live in this layer, and the tool path that we're calculating, we're going to associate it with the layer so we don't actually have to physically click on or select any vectors. We're not sitting there picking all the vectors to calculate the toolpath. The toolpath is going to do that automatically for us. But if you want to group it together, that's fine. Now, what this has done is it has created the boundary for our router bit to cut around, because our router bit's going to be cutting between the border and the letters and everything. And it gave it the boundary to cut around, and everything inside here is protected, because when we cut the top layer of our board, we're cutting the words, believe in the magic of, right? We need that wood to stay. And speaking of, we need that wood to stay, we now have to get the other vectors for the lower third, the top and bottom, because we can't have that wood get milled away as well. So now the last and final layer that we work with, if it's applicable, if we have something there, is the lower third layer. Okay. Now, the lower third layer here, the only thing that we need to do with it is kind of create a boundary around it so that when we go to carve it and all, that wood is still there. When we carve the top text layer and we carve the bottom text, the welded stuff, you know, when we carve all that, the wood is still there for our flourishes and everything to get carved into. It doesn't get milled away. So the boundary on this, and we don't have to actually group it together. Again, make sure you're in the active layer, lower third. We don't actually have to group these together or anything, you know, or any of that stuff. But if you wanted to, you can. I'm going to group them individually. So this one and that one, just for a moment. But the boundary that we're going to create, the offset, we need to make sure that it's wide enough that we, the wood, when everything else gets carved, there's enough wood there for it to carve on. So our offset, we know that the depth that we're cutting is, you know, that 3/16 of an inch deep for each layer. And so we know the offset is 0.1083. That's our magic number. And so that means the cool little 60-degree angle of our sign, the sides from the top of this little flourish to the bottom of the flourish, you know, when it's fully cut, it's going to have that little 60-degree side angle. And it's going to be the distance of that little angle is going to be that 0.1083, that magic number, right? So the offset, we need the wood to be there, you know, all the way out to that little 1083 on both sides and everything. So the offset that we create needs to at least be larger than that number. This little offset we're about to create needs to be at least larger than our 0.1083. Not exactly the same, larger, okay? Not too large, because you have to understand that. Let me turn on the original layer just for a second. The flourish might be close to our other text. And when we create the offset, I need the two not to touch or overlap. I don't want it interacting with the stack. Okay. So it's very important that whatever our offset is, that it doesn't interact with the stack. So I'm going to offset, for me, 0.15. Okay. I could actually offset at 0.125 because that number is 1/8 of an inch, because that number is larger than our 0.1083. I'm going to go the 0.15. I'm going to go a little bit bigger. So my offset number outward is 0.15. On this one, we don't delete the original now. We actually keep this one. We're just making the offset. So select new. This is all you have checked on this one, and we offset it. Okay? Create that boundary. Now, on this offset, we only need the outside boundary that we created, not all the little stuff in here that got created with it, all this little junk crap, just the outside border. So, not clicking my mouse or anything right now, I'm going to hold the shift key down first, and I'm going to click on that outside offset that got created and turn it off. And I'm going to do the same thing up here. And everything else that's still pink, hit the delete key and get rid of it. Right? Just hit delete and get rid of it. We only wanted to keep those outside lines. Okay? Now, it's very important here. If I turn on our original layer again just for a moment, we see that offset is still clear of the stack right there. We're good. That 0.15 was good for us. Okay? Cool beans. All right, so now, very important, we select that outside line. I'll do it for both since there's one at the top, one at the bottom. Normally it's just at the bottom, but you know, in this case it's both. Here's what we do. It gets copied into two places now. All right. Right click and copy to layer top text is number one. Select them again. Right click, copy to layer welded text. It goes in those two layers. those two layers. All right, so now, I don't mean to yell. Sorry, I'm more excited. We should have our lower third vectors with the offsets around them, whatever they are, right? Which we do. On our welded text, we should have our, our welded, letters, our text welded. And we should have our two little offsets on there. On the top text layer, we should have our top text, that's all been cleaned up and grouped back together, and our two little offsets. Now, don't worry that the offsets come close to this line. It's not going to affect anything, but we definitely don't want them to ever go over the line, right? They can be close like that. That's fine. But we don't want it to go over the line on our top text layer. So keep an eye out for that if ever that's a potential issue and all that stuff. So we're good. So that's it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have just finished our design. That's all we had to do for the design side of it. Easy enough. Now we're ready to make the tool pass. Okay. And I want you to stay awake and stay with me now. It's 9:18 right now. It's getting late. I know your minds are tired after a long day of work and everything. What we're going to get into next, we're going to be talking about fixed costs and things like that, what they are, how you account for them and all that stuff. I'm not going to make this all techie and everything. It's going to be very easy to understand. You're going to have such a solid understanding of this that I think you're gonna have feel absolutely confident by the end of this on what you need to do to have good consistent pricing and everything. So stay with me. This is what you've paid for. This is the one class that's your monthly subscription and everything. This is what you pay for. This is going to be a good educational class tonight. So stick with it. Stick with me. All right, so we've just finished our design side of everything. So here's what we do. We turn on the lower third layer light bulb or button. We turn on the welded text and we turn on the top text. Okay. Lower third should be on. Welded text should be on, and top text should be on. Now, okay, cool. The thing that you need to be aware of right now is that we have what's called duplicates. In this case, triplicates. We have that little offset for our flourish is on our lower third layer. It's on our welded text layer, and it's on our top text layer. And that's okay, because when we actually create the tool path, we are going to have the tool path select the correct layer, and it's only going to select the one set of vectors that's on that layer. It's not going to select all the other, copies of it, the duplicates, if you will. And it's not going to throw up warnings and all that. It's only going to select the vectors that are on the layer that we're calculating for. So you might have duplicates in there, which we do. We have triplicates, if you will. But it's not going to affect our design, and they're supposed to be there. This is the actual one time that they're kind of all supposed to be there. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get over here on the toolpath side. Let's make the toolpath. V-carve toolpath. 0 start depth, 3/16 of an inch cut depth, 0.1875. That's our number. It could be an 1/8 inch, 3/16, whatever your layers are going to be, right? And we calculated our offset for that 3/16, right? So that's what we're counting for. All right, we're going to use, in this case, a 60-degree V-bit. And I like using, for the main cuts, the top text and bottom text and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. I like to use both a 1/4 inch end mill and an 1/8 inch end mill. So I like 3 bits on this project, but you can do whatever you want. with the clearance tools, you need at least a 1/4-inch bit for your clearance tool, but I like doing a 1/4 and an 1/8. So I've got my 60-degree V-bit, and then for the clearance tools, I got a 1/4-inch end mill and an 1/8-inch end mill. Down at the bottom here, I'm going to give it a name. I'll just call it top. And you can just put top, because it might not be text, you know, but in this case, I'm going to just put top text. That's fine. But here's the kicker, ladies and gentlemen. Right above where we give the toolpath its name, and I'm going to turn JD and Kevin and myself off just for a minute, because I need you to see. I'm going to turn us off for just a second because I need you to see the bottom clearly over here, the bottom of the toolpath. It says vector selection, and currently right now it says manual. Manual. Well, we're going to hit the selector, and it's going to open up this window on the screen. And we need to select only the layers that we want. So make sure that bubble's checked. We want to select all open and closed vectors. And then the most important word, or the most important thing to check off, is at the bottom, associate with toolpath. That's got to be checked. And in this case, I want to check off the box for top text, that layer. And I want you to notice what happened. It selected only the top text, that border that we offset inward, and that one set of flourish offsets, right? It selected everything that's on that layer automatically. We close this, and now down there at the bottom, it says vector selection automatic. It's now associated with the layers that we checked off, that top text layer. All right, when we calculate this, it's going to say there are some vectors that are overlapping. Do I want to continue? And on here, I do want to continue because we welded our text together. We should have nothing overlapping unless there's a little bitty twist in one of the letters that I don't know about, but let's find out. I really want to check this really quickly. Go to Vector Validator, search the selected, and it's 0 length spans. It's not even overlaps. So when we did the offset, a 0 length span, this is important, is 2 nodes that are on top of each other or nearly on top of each other that do not have a line, arc, or curve in between them. They're literally that close together or on top of each other to where there's no line, arc, or curve in between them. So we have a button for that to fix those spans. Now, those 0 length spans are going to be in every one of our copies because they only happen to be in our little offsets that we put out right there, right? There's 4 of them. One here, and then down at the bottom, the 2 at the bottom. Now, this is important. We have to make sure, because those vectors, they live on the top text layer, right? If I go and click on the button that says Fix 0 length spans, I want to make sure it fixes them on that layer. I want that layer active. Otherwise, it's going to throw those vectors onto some other layer, and I don't want to do that because it's going to redraw the vector. So make sure that top text is selected and hit 0 length spans and fix it, and that be that. Now that I know that the issue is there, before I complete my toolpath, I'll leave that there for a second. I'm going to come in just for a moment, and I'm going to turn off everything except for the lower third or the welded text here. And I want to select this and this. I want to go to the vector validator because those 4 0 length spans are going to be on that layer as well. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure welded text is active. Click on that, fix that. I'm going to turn that one off and turn on the lower third. Make sure it's active, the layer. Click on that and that. In the vector validator search, I'll have those 4 again, and then click on the button to fix. Okay. Now that that's done, I got to go back and turn on the lower third, the welded, and the top text layer. Let's get back here. Make sure those 3 layers are turned back on. And notice my toolpath went back to manual. I got to go back to the selector, make sure I associate it with the toolpath, and then now I can calculate again. So hit calculate. Okay, so we had little zero length spans that we had to fix. All right, so what we should see really quickly, let's move on quickly now here. What we should see when we preview this cut is our wood at the top, wood at the bottom is still there, and then our top text got carved, okay? Wonderful. Outstanding. I can tell you right now the problem that I'm going to have. On that 0.15 here, where this wood goes into this area here and everything, I'm going to be clearing that area out. I'm going to be like milling it down. There may be a possibility that when I mill that it's going to want to kick into my border, you know, because even though I wasn't up against the border in the drawing, I was close enough that there's at the bottom there's contact, you know, that the 2 offsets together, there's contact. So very quickly, I am going to come in here and delete this toolpath for a second. Delete all the toolpaths that I just created. I'm going to go in to the layers and turn off everything but the top text layer, and I'm going to delete these 2 flourishes really quickly. I'm going to turn on the welded text layer and delete those 2 flourishes, or those little boundaries, not flourishes, but delete them. And then in the lower third layer, I'm going to delete these, and I'm going to re-offset them, but I'm going to use that 1/8 of an inch instead of the 0.15. 0.15 was just a little heavier than I needed, or than I could safely get away with its position and everything. So I'm going to re-offset, make sure that lower third is active. I'm going to re-offset outward, but I'm going to go that 1/8 of an inch. And actually, I really kind of, because 0.1083 is the magic number, right? That's the offset. I'm going to just go a little bit bigger than that. So I'm going to go 0.11. 0.11. That's going to be my offset. Select new. Remember now, turn it off. Hit delete. Get rid of all the other little pink stuff that got selected. Now, come back and select those. We're almost done. We just had this one little fix to do. Right click and copy to layer welded text. Select it again. Copy to top text. Put them back, right? Fixed them. Put them back now. All right, turn our layers back on. Let's go back and finish our job here. Okay. V-carve toolpath 0.1875 is my cut depth. 60-degree V-bit, 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch end mill. Select the vector I want to associate with the toolpath for the top text layer. Close that. I'm going to call this, give it a name, top text, and we're right back where we were 2 seconds ago. Calculate. Cool beans. All right, let's reset that preview really quickly. Well, that was stupid, Lainey. Reset the preview and preview the visible toolpath. Okay, good. And that's okay that I'm still making contact and all. I've got some more separation than I did. All right, now the bottom text layer, a new V-carve toolpath. This time we're starting at 3/16, 0.1875, and we're cutting another 3/16. Okay, so that's in both boxes this time. Select the vectors, associate with the toolpath, the welded text layer. Now, I know that I named it welded text layer and all, but I kind of, on my actual toolpath, I kind of call it the bottom, or the bottom text still, you know, because that's technically what it is. So down here it's the bottom text, top and bottom, top and bottom. And then you don't have to use the word text. But anyway, calculate. All right, preview the visible toolpath. Okay, so that's what our stack, forget the flourishes right now, ladies and gentlemen, but that's what our stack is going to look like. Okay, that's what our stack is going to look like. Now, on this stack, really quickly, we have a weird little thing happening right here. We got a weird thing happening right here on that cut, and on the border. Those little cuts right there shouldn't be there. So the reason why they're there is because hold on a second, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why they're there is because let me look at my cuts here. 0.1875. That's beautiful. That's good. That's good. Offset. I offset the border on the top text layer, that inward. It was supposed to stay. That's the one that stays and doesn't get changed. It's the welded text layer that gets offset inward by that 0.105. So very simple fix, ladies and gentlemen. Very simple fix. All we do is go back to our welded text layer right here. Take this original border that's right there. And we're going to, if you recall, on the top text layer, on the top text layer, we offset it inward, right? And the bottom of the welded text layer, we didn't. It was supposed to be the other way around. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this correct here and right click on it and move it, not copy, move it to the top text layer because it's supposed to be that one. Okay. And I'm going to take this one and I'm going to move it to the welded text layer. I literally just had to swap the two. Okay. So now what we have is the welded text layer is the one that's offset inward. My apologies on that one. And the top text layer is the original one, right? So the welded text layer is the inside one. Top text is the original one. My apologies. I had those two reversed. So make sure our layers are turned back on, and we're going to go back to our tool path. Very simple fix. We have to notice it still says automatic. So notice it automatically selected those vectors again. We have to calculate the toolpath, right? Reset the preview that toolpath. Okay. And then on the bottom text layer, it's automatically selected those vectors. That's what the associating with a layer is so wonderful. If we make a change, it automatically selects that change. Calculate that again. Okay. So now when we preview this, my border looks normal and not funky. All right. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, now that's it for the stack is done. That toolpaths are done for that. The only thing we have to do, the final thing we have to do is create the toolpaths for the lower third. Now this one is the only toolpath that does not get associated with the layer. Okay. This is the only one that doesn't get associated with the layer. So we're going to turn off the other layers for a minute, and we're going to make sure that we're actually in the lower third. Okay. And we're going to, for the first cut, we're going to only select the outside border. Okay. And the, on this is important now. On this offset, we're going to mill away on the selected offset there. We're going to mill away the top layer of it. When it's finished carving, it's got to be the same height as the bottom text, which is 3/16. So we're going to mill off the top of this by doing a pocket cut. And on the pocket cut, the depth of the cut is going to be 3/16. We're milling it down that 3/16. Okay. And I like to use the smaller bit of my bits. I like to use the 1/8 inch end mill so it gets into the little nooks and crannies and all that stuff. But here's the key. The wood, let's look at the 3D view here. This wood right here that's protected, there is still, even though we're milling that wood away and all, there's still the little 60-degree offset, right? And so when we mill that away, it's gonna, there's still gonna be wood that's a little further out that we're gonna have to clean up. You'll see that in a minute. And we're gonna do another offset to clean that up. And that offset is going to be just on this layer. Just on this layer. It's going to be offset outward. And I'm going to go another, this time tight to that 0.1083. So the 0.11 is fine. Have faith in me. This will make sense. Make sure that select new is there and then simply go straight into the pocket toolpath. So the new vectors are selected and we just go right straight into the toolpath. And I'm just going to call this our leveling, lower third leveling, whatever you want to call it, lower third leveling. You can name your toolpath whatever you want. And third is not spelled with a U. T-H-I-R-D, right? Third. Calculate. All this toolpath does is it mills off that top layer. Now, a little bit of a nick there. So it tells me a couple things. And I'm not going to worry about it right now. You know what to do. But we would need to, I'm going to make the flourishes smaller and make so my offsets are not so far out, because that little nick right there that you can't see very, very well, it's there, right? Because we had to mill that down. Okay. So, it's not done yet. We still got one more toolpath to make for it, but we nicked the top and most likely the bottom too. So just know that we would have to clean that up, and I would just make it smaller, narrower, so it's a little bit further away from the board, or I would make my board bigger. On my board 16 inches wide, I could make it as wide as I want. I could go 16 1/4, move everything, space everything out a little bit more, give myself a little bit more room. I'm not going to change my text. I'm not going to go through all that. I'm going to do the easiest thing. I'm either going to make my flourishes smaller and do the offsets again, or I'm going to make my board a little bit bigger and just move everything outward, you know, whatever it calls. So here we go. Here's the last and final toolpath. The last and final toolpath. We keep that border selected there, that offset selected. That's a lie. We select that first offset and our flourish, the main flourish at the top and the bottom. Here and there. And this one's going to be a V carved toolpath, starting at 3/16 of an inch, cutting another 3/16 of an inch. I hate that metric rounds up, but anyway. And on this case, I am not using the 1/4 inch end mill. It gets removed. I'm only using the 60-degree V-bit and the 1/8 inch end mill. And I'm just going to call this lower third V carve. All right, now, when this sign gets calculated and everything, the question I want you to do, I want you to guess in the chat. This is our next interactive to keep you awake and with me. And let's get our view back so the guys, I'm put them on the spot so they don't fall asleep. This is the next thing in the chat that I want from you is I want you to guess in the chat, throw the numbers out there. What do you think this 28 by 16 by 3/4 inch Christmas sign, what is the price that it should sell for? What's your guess on what do you think it's going to sell for? Put that in the chat. Man, I wish that interactive little polly thing worked. I can't believe it didn't. I'm so disappointed. I'm going to write them a nasty review. All right, let's preview that toolpath. And let's see if it cleaned it up. I don't think it's going to clean it up. Let me see here. Preview the visible toolpath. And no, it didn't because I had the wrong vector selected because I'm a dummy. Open that toolpath back up. It's the outside line that we keep selected, not the inside. Okay. Calculate. Preview the visible toolpath. All right. Now, notice that it still left a little ring around the edges there. That's not supposed to be there. This little dillywad there. I am most definitely going to be cutting into the border for what I'm about to do, but I have to go out a little bit further on the clearance cut. Let me see here. Let me see what is. Bear with me a second. My 1/8 inch end mill and my V carve. Calculate. The V carve is cutting around all the edges, and then the end mill is cutting what? Okay, so the end mill wasn't big enough to kind of get the cleanup, so my V-bit's got to do the work. So definitely about to cut into my sign, ladies and gentlemen, because we don't have time to go back and correct all the corrections that need to be corrected, but I got to go out a little bit further on this offset. Lordy B. Select those two vectors. Go out a little bit further from where it's at. So just delete the original this time. Open this up. Select that again. On this one, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to ignore the border on this cut. I'm going to make the sign a little bit wider here in just a second. Calculate. preview the visible toolpath. All right, so it cleaned it up, minus what my little bit, that's what the, let's clean that up real quick. Preview simulation quality. Let's turn the quality up a little bit. Let's preview all the toolpaths. So I did cut in the border, so I gotta spread the border out a little bit. It's a little bit too close here, and I do want to show you. You know, it also cut into the bottom of the letters here. So here is the last fix of this. So it's going to change the price on what you just put in the chat and everything, but I'm going to keep it at the 28. I don't want to change that, but I am going to bring this up. I'm going to give myself a little bit more room. So instead of 16, it's going to be 16.5 inches wide. Okay. Instead of 16, it's going to be 16.5 inches wide. On that, going to widen that up, that 1/2 inch. Let's not piddle around. Let's go 16 3/4. Okay. With that, very quickly on the lower third, or on the sign here, I got to remake a border. So I'm gonna leave my original for a minute. I'm gonna unlock it on the original. Make sure it's active there. And I'm going to delete the border and I'm going to make a new one with the same radius corners, 1-inch radius corners, X minus 2 inches, Y minus 2 inches. Okay. Create that border. Oh, Lord. X divided by 2 equals, at the top, I got to get my center. Y divided by 2 equals. Okay. With that, I'm going to take the 2 flourishes on the original. I'm going to bump it up 1, 2, 3. I'm going to delete the bottom one and mirror the top one so they're the same. 1, 2, 3 was good. Let's go one more just for kicks and giggles. All right, mirror that down. Turn the layer off and turn the lower third on and literally delete everything in the lower third. Go back to the original layer. Select the 2 vectors. Oh, hold on a minute. This is important. This one's got to be down. Delete that one. I'm guiding it based on this right here. So mirror that one up. Instead of the top one down, mirror the bottom one up. Okay. Now those 2 get copied to the lower third layer. And then we turn off the original and lock it back. It's done. We fixed it. Come back to the lower third. This time I'm not going to piddle around with the little offsets. I'm just going to go with the not the 1 minute. I'm going to go with my first original offset on here that I did before, which was the 0.11. I'm going to use that one again. So we're going to offset outward 0.11. First of all, it's very important. Notice, make sure the layer is active. So we're going to offset, hold down the shift key, turn it off, hit delete. This is a quick repair. Going to come back here and on the welded text layer, we're going to delete this and this. On the top text layer, I'm going to get rid of those, that, and that. We're going to copy them back, just that outside border. Don't let me confuse you. I got videos on this if you ever need to see this on its own, but we got to get to the pricing. It's already 10 o'clock. You guys' minds are going to be mush in just a minute. Let's see here. We're going to copy to top text layer. Do it again. Copy to welded text layer. Now on this layer, we're going to offset it outward. .15. Okay. All right. Here's how cool this is. If we turn our layers back on and everything, the important thing that's important here is we have to delete the old borders. And we have to go back, and I forgot to get the border from the original. Got to unlock it. That's what I was trying to think of, the word, unlock it. The border, I need to copy it to the top text layer, the border, and I need to copy it to the bottom text layer. Or no, I'm sorry, the welded text layer. Lord of mercy. Copy to. All right, turn off the original again and lock it. Okay, on the welded text layer, it's got to be offset inward by our 0.1083. Remember that number. Inward. Delete the original. Okay, we are now fixed. We're back to where we should be. We now turn on our layers, top, welded, and lower third. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. Okay. We're going to recalculate all of these. And they should, if I open them up, you see how it automatically selected the vectors for those layers because they're still automatically selecting those layers, right? So we should be able to calculate those, those layers because, and without having to select anything, the layers are automatically selecting themselves on the top and bottom, right? So those things, when they cut and everything, that's what they look like. Okay. Wonderful. All right. Turn them off. And on the lower third, we do our pocket cut. Outside vector here, outside vector here. That goes with this leveling layer that we created, that leveling toolpath. So we simply just reselect them and hit calculate again. It's already in there. The toolpath is there. We just got to re-level. We're bringing that down. I nicked, fucking just killing myself right now. All right. So the you get the point. On the lower third V carve, we select those same vectors. and the inside flourish this time. Calculate it. It's the only two toolpaths, those two toolpaths that aren't associated with the it's the only two toolpaths that aren't associated with the associate with layer, the automatic selections and all that stuff. And oh, all right. I had to go out a little bit further to clean up that cut. All right. So again, we're not going to fix that anymore. That's what it is. You know, I'll give this design to you. I'll clean it up and all that stuff. But all right. How much do you think this sign is worth, not counting the screw up? So if it was in, you know, excellent condition. So let me hit save here, file, save as, and then we're going to get into the actual lesson of the day. But I wanted to give you a project to carve. I didn't want this to be like, you know, some kind of, you know, where you don't have anything tangible, you know, to price, you know, and we were just making up, you know, scenarios. So file, save as. This is going to be my Christmas sign. By the way, if anyone's interested, this sign right here will be one of the signs that's available for free when you purchase a digital wood carver CNC machine. You guys get it for free. I'm going to give you a copy of it too. All right. In the chat, fresh new numbers for everybody. How much you think this sign is worth? Now let's get into it. All right, let's get out of this. And let's open up a new app. Okay. What you see on the screen is the BuildItTV Product Pricing Studio that I made for, you know, pricing projects and everything in my shop, but also I've made it available. It is a completely comprehensive program. It is not a spreadsheet. It is a full Windows application program that helps you with setting all your prices. First thing we're going to talk about when it comes to the pricing and everything. Okay. And this is the fixed cost. Okay. So bear with me a second here. Give me just a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Almost there, folks. Wake up. Okay. By a show of hands, how many people know what when someone says fixed costs, or when they say fixed costs, when it comes to pricing or anything in business and all, fixed costs, how many know actually exactly what fixed costs are? Okay. How many, show of hands, how many knows exactly what fixed costs are? All right. And while you're showing your hands and all that stuff in the chat, let me tell you here, okay? Fixed costs are the costs that you have to pay every single month, regardless of if you sell a project or not. I don't care if you make 1 cut or 0 cuts or 1,000,000 cuts, you know, on a project or whatever. These fixed costs happen. They come up every month. You have to pay them every month, regardless of if you sell anything or not. Okay. So that would be things like your mortgage or rent, property insurance, your electric bill, light bill, cable bill, phone bill, all your little miscellaneous things like sandpaper, router bits, saw blades, those type costs, and any subscriptions, monthly subscriptions you have for software or anything like that you've got, any advertising you might do. If it's a business where you actually have like a little bit of an accountant or something that does your taxes at the end of the year, that's all got to come into play and all that stuff. All of that, and your small machines, your little sander, your drill press, your bandsaw, all the small machines that don't make a big impact on projects and all, like your CNC machine is a big machine. That actually goes into machine costs. Any machine like your planer or joiner or drum sander where you're only making a small, your chop saw, where you're making a small cut where, the cut takes 5 seconds or 10 seconds for that project to make and all, you still account for those small machines and those 5 seconds and 10 seconds cuts. They still have to go into your overhead, the cost of them. You still got to, they've got to be paid for their wear and tear, their replacement, all that stuff. But they don't go into the big picture machine costs of the project. And we're going to separate the two in just a minute, between the big machine and the small machine. And I'm going to make it make sense to you. All right. So here in the pricing calculator here, I have our main key prices for fixed costs: rent or mortgage, property taxes, utilities like your electric, utilities like your internet each month. These are monthly costs, okay, that come up every month. Your phone bill, if you have your business phone, your insurance, business insurance, business truck insurance, auto insurance, liability insurance, anything like that. Accounting. Now, accounting doesn't mean you have an accountant come out to your place or you go to your accountant every month. It is, if I have H&R Block do my taxes at the end of the year and they charge me $600 to do my taxes at the end of the year, you divide that $600 annual cost by 12, and that gives you your monthly cost. Okay. All right. And so on the Product Pricing Studio's website, I have some articles for you, some learning guides, some learning articles and everything. And this particular one talks about fixed cost. Okay. So for a moment, indulge me while I say that what are fixed costs and why do they matter? Fixed costs are the bills that you pay, whether you sell one project this month or 50 or none, right? Your housing, utilities, insurance, your software, your, rent or mortgage, whatever. These bills, these fixed costs come every month, knocking on your door, regardless of what you do in your business. Okay, those are your fixed costs. Now, real numbers. These are my fixed costs. Okay, my real numbers, my fixed costs for my business. Now, I'm fortunate enough that I worked for a company in 2015, and when I left that company, the parting bonus that I got, because I did a nice job for them, a good job for them and all, they paid off my mortgage of my home. They gave me a big enough bonus. I think it was like $25,000 or something like that, 25 or 30,000, I forget, but to pay off the mortgage of my home. So I no longer had a mortgage. So I do not have a mortgage or rent that I pay. My house is paid off and everything. And I do have a home-based business. I work from my home. My property, my shop and everything is on the back part of the property. My property is zoned for business and everything, but it's a home-based business. And that's what many of us Many of us don't have a brick and mortar store and things like that. We're a home-based small company. So this is real world. This isn't made up. This is real world business for our home-based business, math, you know, and everything. Okay. So I do not have a mortgage and all, but I just had a new metal building put up for my shop. And I do have a $310 a month payment for that building. So that is my mortgage, basically. That's my business building, because that's and all 100% of that. Now, everything else we share with our household, and you realistically, it's never going to be $0, and it's never going to be 100% of our monthly expenses and everything. You know, when I pay my utility bill, how much of that bill, what percentage of that bill goes to my personal and goes to my business that I operate out of that home? You know, what percentage and everything. And so what we do is, how we find our fixed cost is we list all of those recurring bills. Okay. And then we decide the share. What share of them belong to the business? And your accountant at the end of the year, when you're doing your LLC taxes and everything like that, you know, when you're working on your home-based business, they do that too. They have that percentage and all. And so we want to be realistic. And so for home-based businesses, the business usually pays a percentage of the household bills, never really the full amount. So our home office and shop uses 20% of the square footage. My home office uses about 20% of the square footage of my home. And then the power, electric, utilities, cable, all of that stuff, somewhere between 30 and 40% of the full bill my business uses. The 40% of the electricity, 40% of the utilities, you know, internet, 40% of the phone, whatever the case may be, right? Internet, 50% for the business. Okay. It doesn't. Now listen, the numbers and the math doesn't have to be perfect here, but it needs to be reasonable and honest. Okay. Real world scenarios. Okay. So my property taxes every year, the property taxes for the property each year is I think it's $650, somewhere around there, $675 and everything. And each month, you know, divide that, you know, 600 by 12 to get my monthly cost. And then my business, my percentage is 40%. Okay. So 40% of my monthly bills goes to my business. So that comes to my property taxes every month. The business pays $21.50 a month towards the property taxes. Okay. My utility bill is $450 a month. A month. My business pays 40% of that, $180. My internet, the business pays 40% of the internet bill, which is $80 a month. My phone, my cell phone is 100% business and everything. It's $50 a month. It's the only phone that's used for the business, $50 a month. My insurance, my homeowner's insurance is $450 every 3 months. Divide that 450 by 3, and then 40% of that is $60. My liability insurance and everything, I pay $55 for that. Now, auto insurance and all, I do use the car for personal and business and everything. So the car payment, insurance payment, and everything, a percentage of that goes, the business pays for, and that falls under the other category. So anything, any of your fixed costs that there's not an actual category for here goes into the other. So on my accounting, it's $600 a year to file my business taxes. and the that is $50 a month. The software subscriptions I have, my Adobe, all the little subscriptions I have for all the AIs and everything for my business and stuff like that. The monthly total, like Stream, the Restream that I use here is $49 alone. And then everything else is kind of a monthly stuff. But my software is $65 a month for my little subscriptions and stuff. Advertising, I don't really pay a lot for advertising and all, but I stream and I post out on Facebook, and I put time into it and everything. And it literally averages out to all the materials, like the Snappa subscription that I pay for that makes all the ads for my advertising and all that stuff. It's $125 a month. And then I have two other categories. One is my car and insurance, the portion that the business pays for, which is $265.20. And then the other, the $120 is what I pay realistically for. It's kind of the budget that I budgeted myself realistically every month for sandpaper, blades or bits, whatever I need. All the little, wood glue, all the little tidbits of stuff that I use in the shop and everything. And every month I have a budget where I can go shopping and spend, I can buy my sandpaper that I need. I can buy the glue that I need, and the bottles, they last, however long they last. But all that little miscellaneous stuff in the shop falls under the other category. And also my little machines, little sanders and all that stuff. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. How realistically we account for all those little machines and everything. But my fixed cost every month for my business, no matter if I sell one thing or nothing or everything, and all, it's $1,411 a month, or my fixed cost. That bill comes every month, regardless of what my business is actually doing. This is why I depend on you guys so much, because my business, I don't make and sell that many projects anymore. It's all teaching you and working with the digital woodcarver customers and all that. So my presence here, the money that you pay me every month, to be a member, and the smarts chats and everything that you put in there, all of that, your subscription, that's what pays my bills, right? And all that wonderful stuff. All right, so now, and JR, the cost of living in Florida is for me is great. I could not survive anywhere else, especially California. It's crazy over there. All right, so this is my fixed cost. My annual fixed cost is $16,940 every year. That regardless of what gets made. Okay, so now once we do that, once we break down our percentage and everything, we convert that to real numbers. Okay, the monthly bills stay the same. The yearly bills we divide by 12. The quarterly bills we divide by 3. We add them all up, and that becomes the fixed cost for our shop, our business. Okay, now in a scenario here, right? Same thing I just did with adding everything up. You would take those numbers, add them up, and for this example that I have on the website and everything, the every month the fixed cost for that shop was $585, right? That kind of thing. Just to keep the doors open, right? Mine's $1,400 just to keep the doors open. Okay, now, how does it fit into the flow of things, right? Once we know the fixed cost, that gets divided over not one project, but every project that gets made. It gets trickled and divided over every project that gets made, a certain percentage of it. And the great thing about the pricing calculator is once I put in my fixed costs and my machine costs, which we're going to talk about in a minute, I put in my material costs, what it cost me for my boards and raw material and everything. Then when I build the product, the price, those fixed costs and things get trickled into each price. So that way when I sell something, a portion of that goes to the cost, and then at the end of the year or the end of the month, I've made, I have, if I've sold enough product, I've made enough to be, keep my head afloat and everything. Well, this calculator takes all those factors and everything. It creates the price, and then it tells you, what you need to sell of that product every month to be profitable, or what you need to sell every month of that product just to break even. It'll tell you all of that. It does all that math for you. You just have to put in your fixed cost. Okay. In this case, this is my fixed cost. Now, machine cost. When it comes to the machine costs, we take into account what the machine cost us, realistically, what we could get, what we could salvage the machine for at the end of its life, what we could possibly get out of it, even if it was a scrap metal type price and everything. What are the useful years? Like how many years is the life of this machine realistically going to be, and then, what, how many hours is it going to run each year realistically? So let's take a look at my machines that are in my fixed cost here. I have a DWC 4848 CNC machine, 48 by 48 cutting machine. I've got a 24-inch by 40-inch CNC machine, and I've got one of my big machines that gets used in every project is my Supermax 1938 drum sander. Okay, those are my three big machines. Now, my 4848, I bought it used. I didn't buy it new, but it was $12,000. And if at the end of a 7-year lifespan of this machine, the salvage value for scrap metal, probably about $600. Okay. I could try to resell it to someone, and make a little bit of money off of it, but realistically, I'll probably run it to its death or whatever. At the end of that 7 years, I'll buy a new machine. I renew the machines every 7 years or whatever. But about $600 realistically is what I could probably get for that machine at the end of its lifespan. Now, that machine, and you got to be real now. This is real runtime. If you run your machine only, an hour or two a day, then it's an hour or two a day, right? There's 262 working days in the year, 261, but leap year, there's a leap year that adds an extra day. So let's call it 262 days. That's no weekends. That's 262 work days. Now, of those work days, you also got to remember there's federal holidays and stuff like that you might take off, that that and all, but these are actual work days, no weekends. 262. All right. So if you run your machine 2 hours a day for 262 days, that's the hours that you run each year. Okay. My 4848 realistically will run 6 hours of the day. Of my 8-hour day, 10-hour day or whatever, my machine, my 4848, realistically, uptime, runtime, when it's carving, when it's working, okay, about 6 hours of the day. That is 1,572 hours on that 262 days a year, because I don't run it on the weekends and things like that and all that stuff. Pick your days. If it's 365 for you and you never take a day off, and neither does your machine, go for it, right? But realistically, Monday through Friday, don't work weekends unless I have to, that type of thing. But it's 1,572 hours for the year that machine runs. Now, my DWC 2440, and by the way, the software breaks that up for you. So the cost per hour on that machine, based on those numbers, is $1.03 an hour. And the cost per minute is about 0.17 of a penny, right? So a penny, a little almost 2 pennies, 2 cents, right? Let's call that. So a minute for that machine to run. That's the machine cost for that machine. Every minute and every hour of the day. Now my 2440, now that cost me $5,218. Not 5118, 5,218. And the salvage value on that, realistically, it's going to be about, if I had to scrap metal it, when it's all done, I'll probably get about $75 on the given aluminum prices that are out nowadays and everything like that. So if I had to scrap it, at the end of its year, and its useful life is going to be, and let me actually load the data. There we go. Probably about 6 years on that machine. And the hours that machine runs is only about 600 hours a year. That machine probably runs about 2.5 hours a day. Of that, my big machine is now doing a majority of the work. Now my drum sander cost me $1,889 for that drum sander. If I had to scrap it at the end of its life term, again 7 years, if I keep the belts and everything, maintained and all that stuff and all, about 7 years I can get out of that machine. If I had to salvage it at the end of that 7 years, about $35 realistically. You got to be real, what I can get for it. That machine runs about 700 hours a year. Okay. So all my cutting boards and everything run through it and stuff like that. All right. So that's my realistic machines, my big machines and everything. Now let's in the chat. I want to know from you, number one, are you still awake and with me? Am I boring you too much? But on the machine cost, the reality check, okay? For a typical woodworking project, how many machines do you actually use? Okay, be realistic. Even the small cuts count, but how many machines do you use? Your CNC, your table saw, drill press on a typical project. How many machines do you actually use? Okay. That's the question that I want to ask. Okay. Now, every machine in your shop has a cost per hour. It really does. And all, even though it doesn't feel like it, it does. Your CNC machine, your table saw, your bandsaw, your dust collection, all of it slowly wears out with use. Okay. We use a simple formula. What you just saw, the machine's cost, the salvage value, its useful lifespan. Okay. What you paid for the machine, what it'll be worth at the end of its life, and about how many hours you actually run it, right? And everything. This turns into an hourly machine rate. It gets added into, again, it gets trickled into each job based on it, that use and everything. All right. It's a professional way to price it. It'll cover 95% of everything, and it assures your equipment gets paid for long before it needs replacing. Okay, you gotta account for this stuff because it's getting worn out. It does have to get replaced, and in order for you to stay in business, and that money's got to come from somewhere, right? And if we don't break it up over the things that we sell, when it comes time to replace those and we have to fork out, we didn't put any money back out of each sale, for these, to cover the machine replacements and all that stuff, then we're sitting there out of pocket, and I can't just pull $5,000 out of pocket, just to pull $5,000 out of pocket, right? I need my sales to make money that goes into the bank that helps buy those things down the road. Okay. And so the numbers have to be, I mean, they got to be, you got to really be real about it, what you think. And I know at the end of my 7 years on that 4848, I'm not going to turn around and be able to sell it for $12,000 or $10,000. I'm most likely gonna, it's going to end up going to a junkyard or something like that, or getting, a scrap metal place or whatever. What could I realistically get on scrap metal prices and all for that, 1,200 pound unit or whatever? Seriously, just got to be real with it. My drum sander, when it dies, it dies. I'm lucky to get, there's a value of $35 out of it, but I still got to buy another one, right? Kind of thing. All right, so here we go. So here's what I want to, let me just, I really want to iterate some things, and we're going to continue on here. Okay. I want, let me just say this. Us as woodworkers, okay, I talked to you earlier about, we price emotionally, and that's kind of, we think, oh, I feel like this, should sell for $50, or we worry about, will they pay, $95 for this or that and that. And like I said, the problem with that is, emotion has nothing to do with profitability. Okay. Emotion and profitability do not go together at all. All right. So when you price based on gut feeling, you almost always undercharge. Okay. And you don't even realize it, but you wait till the end. You've all set your prices, what you think this project should sell for. Wait till the end when we actually set up the project in the pricing calculator and see what the actual cost or actual selling price is going to be. You'll be surprised. Okay. Now, here's the deal. Real pricing, and I'm really kind of harping on it, and I don't mean to, but it's not emotional, it's mathematical. Okay. These numbers, the math, that's what counts. Now, we haven't even talked about labor costs and all that. We got to get paid and everything, and all too. And some of us, we think if we sell a project, and then we pay all the bills off, or we pay for the groceries that we have to go buy. We sold that one project and everything, and then, whatever's left is left. And here's what some people are really bad at is, I need to go to the store to get this or that or whatever. I got to sell something. I sell it. I make my $75. I go to the grocery store and I buy $75 worth of groceries because, I live off that, right? When that's not the I just took away. I might have undersold that. I might have desperately sold that for $75 when it should have been sold for more because I was desperate or whatever and I needed the money. But then I just took that money and I kind of put profit first, which is okay. But I took everything. I didn't just put the profit. I didn't take $25 from that project and put the $50 back for, my fixed costs, my bills. I went and bought groceries with the whole thing. And now at the end of the month, when the bills come, I'm sitting there pinching pennies or whatever. And that's not the scenario. Some people are doing well financially and stuff like that, but I'm just kind of being, sincere and all that stuff. Right. So everything, right, everything, every machine that we own, every sheet of plywood that we buy, everything, all of our router bits, all of our blades, all of that stuff have to be accounted for. Okay. Those numbers, they have to be calculated for. And that's that other, right? You know, I have a budget for myself for bits and blades and sandpaper and everything, you know, to replenish my stock and all, that $120 a month, you know, goes towards that and all that stuff. You know, because I buy the big balls of glue and that lasts me quite a long time, right? So now, here's the deal. We must charge for that to be profitable. We must. And the difference between guessing and that's the difference. Sorry, that's the difference between guessing and running a business. You know, is we got to be profitable, and all these things have to be kind of the math. The math versus emotion. Emotion doesn't play a role. All right, I've said enough on that. Now, here's the deal. Undercharging leads to burnout. Okay? Super fast. I burned myself out quite a few times in the past and all because not charging enough and struggling and everything. Undercharging is the fastest way to run into burnout physically. Okay? We end up working harder and making less. We start feeling like we're constantly behind. A lot of talented makers out there in the world, a lot of talented woodworkers out there in the world. They don't quit because they're bad at woodworking. They quit because they're bad at pricing. All right. So when you finally, hopefully at the end of this class, and please stay awake with me. I know it's late at night and your minds are tired and all that stuff, but I won't harp too much longer but when you finally understand your true cost, the mortgage, the rent, and all that, what it costs every month, regardless if you sell anything or not, what it costs you every month. And if you're running a home-based business, business isn't paying for the whole mortgage or the whole this or whole that. A portion of it goes to the business. So you think about that 40%, that 30%, whatever it is, you know, that percentage you have to pay every single month to keep your business doors open. All right. Once you finally understand your true cost, your stress will drop. Your confidence in pricing will go up because you know your numbers. That's what the calculator helps with in that case, in the snare and everything. But it helps you get that confidence and consistency. Okay, consistent pricing. Here's the deal. This is the goal. Okay, confidence, not guessing. We want to be confident in our pricing and consistent. We don't want to be guessing at it. Now, at the end of the day, that's it. That's at the end of the day, when I'm looking at a customer, I don't care if I'm doing a one-off quote to them face-to-face, or it's a project that I make that I have on my website that I sell, and it's not a one-off and all. This will help with those one-off quick quotes that you have to do and all to stay consistent, not off the top of the dome and all. As long as you know your numbers, it's easy to come up with the price. Okay. So when you know your fixed costs, when you know your machine costs and everything, your labor rate, we'll talk about in just a minute, then you can price anything accurately, confidently. Two big key things. Stress level goes down. You're not sitting there stressing about monthly bills and all that. And once you learn this, you'll never go back to guessing again. I guarantee you. And this is what I built this calculator for. And I do want to, I do want to say that this calculator is available for sale. You guys as members get a major discount. Gold members get 50% off of the $99 retail price, and silver members get $30 off of it. So it is available on the website and all, but this is not a sales thing. We were talking pricing. This is real world stuff. I want you guys to start being profitable. I don't care if you use your little notepad and a calculator. I'd love for you to support the project that I made for y'all and for myself and everything. It's a beautiful program, and it's only getting better. But this program is going to be developed into invoicing software and all kinds of stuff. But right now, it's just a pricing calculator. Now, here's the deal. Let's talk about labor costs, just for a minute. And I don't know why I opened that tab. Let's talk about labor costs for just a second. Okay. All right. In any of these lessons, ladies and gentlemen, don't fall asleep on me. Trust me. But any of these lessons, they're on the guide and all that stuff. But you know, stay with it. I'm glad your mind is blown Kool-Aid. I hope it's just stay with me. Don't fall asleep. This is good stuff and everything. But regardless, you can always watch the video later because it's still going to continue. But stay with me because this is intriguing stuff and everything. All right, now. Labor cost, really quickly. We're going to talk about that for a second. But here's the question. Okay. Man, you wouldn't believe when I get this little interactive thing up and going. All right. The screen would have been so interactive. You would have seen all your answers popping up on the screen and little polls, and we'd have had percentages and all that stuff. And it's not working. I worked so hard on that today, and Stream Alive. I mean, I had all the polls and everything ready, right? I had everything just amazingly done. All the questions and everything, you know, and where stuff popped up on the screen, right? So if I preview, let me just preview one of those real quick, right? So in real world preview, right? So on the screen, what would have happened is it would have popped up on the screen. I would have asked the question, and then you guys, when you're whatever you typed in the chat, would have started appearing on the screen, the words that you typed in or the choices that you made. And everything on each of the slides, you know, the questions that I asked, all of the polls and everything. We'd have been so interactive tonight. We would have been so interactive if it would have just worked. So disappointed that it didn't work. Anyway, but I'm still going to ask the questions, and I still want the answers. Don't be falling asleep on me now. All right, here we go. So here's our next question: labor rate. Okay. Do you know in the chat, answer your question? It's going to kind of be your answers are going to be yep, nope, you know, whatever sounds fair, you know, whatever your answer is, right? But here's the question: do you know your real hourly labor rate? Do you know your real hourly labor rate? Okay. Your labor rate isn't what sounds fair. Okay. It's based on your fixed cost, your take-home income goal, what you want to make every year, billable hours, and your efficiency. We're going to calculate that tonight. We're going to talk about it and everything, but it's your real number. Okay. Your real number. So in the chat, I'd like you to answer, do you know your real hourly labor rate? Okay. All right. Now, labor rate. What is the labor rate? What's the labor rate calculator do in the pricing studio? Project Pricing Studio, PPS. Inside the Pricing Studio, the labor rate is calculated in real dollars, right? And it's the value over time. Not guessing, no guesswork. We're not going to be based on what everybody else is charging. Go look on Etsy and say, oh, they're charging this, so I'm going to charge that, right? So it's based on, you know, the actual rate for your business. Okay. So here's what, let me just tell you what the calculator does. Okay. So the calculator helps you arrive at a rate that reflects your wage, your overhead, taxes, real world inefficiencies, right? Breaks and all that stuff, or, you know, when you're not actually working and you're, you know, just chilling or whatever. So you aren't quietly losing money. All right. Every time you turn on the lights in your shop, all of that stuff, right, comes into play. Okay, per task, you can attach labor to the actual work you do, prep, CNC machine time, sanding, hand finishing, assembling, painting, staining, packaging. All right. And even your customer communications, talking on the phone with the customer, your design time, all of that encompasses, your labor. Okay. The labor portion of the product pricing and everything, once you know your labor rate and time, okay, the app turns that into a clear dollar value. The application, that pricing studio, turns it into a real dollar value that becomes one of the pillars to your final product price. So that's what the calculator does. Now, let's actually talk about how you calculate labor. Okay. A good labor rate is more than what you would like to earn. It's what you would like to earn, but it's more than that. It's not just what you would like to earn, right? It also needs to cover your overhead, taxes, and the realities of your day-to-day shop work. Okay. So here's the breakdown of it, the math of it all, if you will. Figure out your desired hourly wage. All right. Start with what you want or need to earn per hour as the owner or primary worker, which we all are as a home-based business. Sometimes we're a one-man band and all that stuff. But what you want or need to earn as the owner or primary worker. This is your base wage. Not yet adjusted for overhead and taxes. It's just the base wage. What you want to earn an hour, Okay. Now, your overhead burden. Every hour you work needs to help pay for the rent, the mortgage, utilities, the insurance, the equipment, all those fixed costs, right? That we talked about, marketing, maintenance, and more. The calculator bakes all that into its price, the price and all, as part of your labor rate. Finally, you can account for your taxes and the messy realities, training time, setup, tool changes, downtime, when machines are down and things like that. That keeps your labor rate grounded. Okay, it helps your shop run like an actual shop. Not every scenario is perfect. Okay, not everything is perfect. Sometimes there's machines that are down. There's that cause you have to do more work by hand or whatever the case be. So the unrealistic scenario, it's not a perfect world. So here is what you may not know about your labor rates. Okay, here's a simplified example. Okay, what you may not know about your labor rates is, imagine you've been charging $25 an hour. Okay, because it seems reasonable. That's your labor rate, $25 an hour. But when you actually break it down, it needs to look like this. You have your $22 an hour wage, let's say $22 an hour wage. You have $11 an hour for your overhead burden to cover your fixed costs and all that stuff. You got $4 an hour for your taxes, to cover your taxes and your sales taxes and things like that. $3 an hour to cover any inefficiencies and downtime. Right? So realistically, your hourly wage is not $25 an hour. It's more along the lines of $40 an hour. Okay. If you charge $25 an hour when the real number, after your fixed costs and all that, is $40 an hour, you're losing $15 every hour that you work. Okay. And that's a lot of money to leave on the table in this scenario. This is an example scenario, right? Okay. So we help kind of pick up those pieces and everything. Now, give me just a second. Give me just a minute. I want to give me just a second. Almost there, ladies and gentlemen. Bear with me just a second. I'm so sorry. I have notes and I want to just make sure I don't miss any important stuff. It looks like yeah. Okay. All right. I think I got. I don't want to beat too many things to death, and I don't want to stress too much. But let's be when it comes to this. Okay, how the labor. We're going to talk about how the labor affects your pricing and all that. But labor is almost always and small-based, home-based businesses and small, hobby-type shops or small businesses that are just growing and everything. Labor is almost always the most underrated part of the woodworking. Okay. Undervalued part of the woodworking, more so than underrated, undervalued. Okay. And when I say undervalued, it doesn't mean that I mean that your number is too low or whatever. What I mean is that you have in your mind what you'd like to make an hour, but that's not all of the labor costs. The labor needs to be able, that hourly rate needs to be able to cover we're going to go into a little bit in depth on what overhead is and all that stuff, but there's a difference between profit margin and overhead. All right. Overhead is what it takes to keep the doors open, what you have to pay every month. Overhead. Profit margin that's your paycheck, right? It's what you make after everything is paid, after all the bills are paid, what's left over, right? Is your profit margin in the chat? If you had to guess, or is there a number that you work with your profit margin? Is it 0 because you don't know the profit margin? Is it 20%, 30%, between 30 and 40%, or is it 0 to 10%? Let's say 0 to 15%, because most business standard is about 15% in some cases, but 20 to 30, 40%, or you just don't, that's never even, you just make up a number. Margin has never been a real thing. So that's kind of the answers in the chat that I'm looking for. But when you're pricing, a lot of us kind of what feels right, or what looks good, or what's happening on Etsy, right? That type of thing, right? That, again, I'm not going to harp on emotion, but that emotional thing, or that just want to see what other people are doing, and I'm just going to kind of copy what they're doing, right? But the mistake we make is when we do that, we never, ever, ever, ever see real profit, right? We see money coming in for that sale, but when the bills are paid at the end of the day and all, we're always like, whew, man, what's going on here? We never really see real profit. We never grow. We kind of stay stagnant. We never really grow and making money and money and money and money, and all that stuff. And all, we pay the bills. We live paycheck to paycheck to pay the bills. And that's kind of how we get by in life. And all, we don't have enough to put back in a savings account or a 401k or any of that stuff or whatever, retirement fund, none of that stuff. We don't ever really get to see that because we don't price properly. And so I got tired of that. That's why I developed the pricing studio, and it's been a game changer, and I think it would be for you too as well. If you ever think about that down the road, but we're going to turn our labor from guessing to realistic numbers, and the software will help with that. You'll see in just a minute. Now, here's the deal. I want to kind of, for people that are new at business, new shop owners, new homeowners, all whatever the case may be. I want to, like when I say overhead, like your machines, your small machines, the blades, the bits, the bearings, and everything that go into replacing or repairing the small machines, or, just because a cut only took 5 seconds on the table saw to cut the cutting board down to size, those machines still get accounted for. They get, and if you asked a business person, well, how do they get accounted for? How do I account for them? If I don't put them in my big machine categories, I can only put 3 big machines in my pricing and all, which is realistically, that's when I ask the question, how many machines do you realistically use? The ones that actually cost the most, that do the most work and the most wear and tear, the running the most, those are the machines those are the ones that go into that, that machine cost. All the other machines, the sanders, the planers, the little hand sanders, or drum sanders or whatever, little edge sanders or whatever. But the drill presses, band saws, things like that, those all get trickled into overhead, right? But if I said that as a business person, I said they get trickled into overhead, they get spread across overhead. The question that for someone that's new, that's never done business at all, should be, okay, that's great, but how do they get trickled through overhead? They don't just get trickled magically. What's the math? What's the numbers? What gets trickled into overhead to cover the machine costs and everything? Where's that number come from? Okay, so let's talk about the small machines for just a moment, and we're going to come back because it all comes into labor. It all falls under labor, the overhead and all that. But let's say that you have a drill press that you paid $500 for. Okay. Regardless of how often it gets used and everything and all that, that cost over the year or whatever, you're going to, over its lifetime, should I say, you're going to break that cost down, into kind of a monthly, what it costs, what I would have to pay each month to be able to replace that machine at the end of the year, or at the end of its lifespan. It's not necessarily the end of the year, but at the end of its lifespan. So let's say that I have a drill press that I paid $500 for. And let's say realistically, I could probably, with keeping it maintained, I could probably get a good 5 years out of that drill press. Could drill, thousands of holes for me, right? That kind of thing. But, I probably get about 5 years. About 5 years, I probably want to buy something new, or replace it and all, because it's, it's just not as accurate. It's a little wobbly now, the bearings are going out and all that stuff, all that kind of things. But if I take that $500 and I divide it by, let's say it's a 4-year lifespan, just because, so the math is easy in my head. Let's say it's $500 it cost me, and over that 48 months, that 4 years, right? 12 times 4 is 48. Yep. Okay. So over that 48 months and everything, what did that cost me per month? Okay. That number, that's a number that I know my monthly cost for that, to replace that machine over its lifespan, right? So if I broke out the old calculator and everything, and I take that $500 and I divide it by that 48 months, I was about to say 480, but the 48 months and everything, $10.41 a month would go towards that little replacing my drill press fund, you know, for the, so at the end of its lifespan, I could have the money to buy another one. Okay. So that's a real world number. What it cost me, how long I think that, you know, the lifespan of that unit, and that gives me a monthly cost. Now what that monthly $10.41 goes toward every month that I make for that is the replacement on the belt of that bandsaw, or the blades for the bandsaw, or whatever the case may be, all those little things. And then, you know, also the, you know, the replacement stuff, but that helps cover those costs and things like that. Okay. So now let's come in here, and we're going to give me a second. This is going to be the kind of the rule of thumb, if you will. All right. If a machine contributes a large measurable cost over time, like my $12,000 CNC, or my $5,000 CNC, or my $2,000 sander, or what have you, then we give it a slot in the, you know, the machine cost, right? We give it a slot in the big machine cost, right? If it's a small occasional use tool like our palm sander, with somebody, and don't sit there and say, oh man, I use my palm sander more than anything because I'm sitting there sanding my projects and all that stuff. And that's true, but it's not, you know, it's not a major expense. You know, it's $100 palm sander realistically, right? Kind of thing. But those small occasional use tools, let those live in your overhead. The router bits, blades, your, you know, your palm sanders and all your small tools. Break it down. How much did that machine cost me? I went out and, let's say I bought a drill press, you know, like I said, you know, $500. I could probably get 4 years out of it. It cost me, you know, $10 a month, right? So there's your number. That's your number for that drill press. Okay. You do the same thing for your bandsaw and whatever else. Now, this is going to get 95. This is going to get you about 95% of your pricing accuracy. And that is in the world of business, that's good. Okay. All right. So oops, did I lose y'all? Did I put y'all to sleep on that one? But in the case of Billy Bob's genuine rabid dog urine, something actual drink. Labor rate equals the case of beer in an hour. All right. So at least you're getting it, right? That's what the labor costs are. Case of beer an hour. There you go. All right. At least you're getting it. But now, the next question that I have for you, okay. All right, is, the next question I have for you is, so far, what is the cost that surprises you the most in your shop? And what I mean by that is, is it the electric bill that surprises you? Is it the what catches you every time? You know, is it the oh Lord have mercy. There's an actual real world question. There's an actual real world point to that. Give me just a second. One second, ladies and gentlemen. sorry. The question once again, what is the most surprising cost in your woodworking or business, your woodworking shop or your business? Example answers for that would be your finish, clear coats and lacquer and all that stuff. Sandpaper, CNC router bits, your electricity, your shop rent, mistakes, right? What is the one thing that surprises you the most, you know, as far as that always kind of catches you? You didn't realize how much when you actually think about it, which you're not actually writing down your numbers right now and all that stuff. But what I'd like to know in the future is kind of what shocked you the most. You know, like, you know, the cost of your finish every month that you actually pay for, or each year, or the sandpaper that you buy because you go out and you have to have this 30, you know, 320 grit, this 200 grit, this and this and that. And you got to have this minute, you know, each month, whatever it is. What I want to know one day, it doesn't have to, you don't have to answer right now, but what is, you know, what surprised you? And I'll tell you right now, my answer is the same as Burns, is the cost of wood. And I'll show you the cost of wood. I'll show you my cost of wood in the calculator in just a minute. My real actual cost, you know, and it's so surprising, especially after COVID, everything went crazy, right? So the last the last thing that I really want to say is this is the last thing I'll say about the machines, okay? For your smaller machines that don't really take place as the big ones, you know, like your CNCs are the ones that run constantly and all that, your smaller machines, planer, joiner, table saw, quick cuts on your table saw, your hand sander and things like that, okay? They're still real cost. They still cost you something, but I've already told you how to figure them out. How much did it cost you? How long do you think this thing will last? You know, on its build quality and all that, what kind of life you can get out of it. Take that cost, the life, divide it by the months of the life, you know, the years, like in this case, 5 years, 48 months. And then that gives you a monthly cost, right? That's how you figure out those numbers. And then, so they have real costs, right? But they don't need their own category in your overhead. They just need to be kind of, you need to figure them out, and they need to be clumped into my, you know, like option 1 and option 2, the cost, you know, those little things like my $120 a month and all that stuff. The cutting board, you know, let's say a cutting board that I make, right? It takes 10 seconds to cut a board, not a cutting board, but, you know, to cut a board. It takes 10 seconds to cut a board, my cutting board down to size, right? But that machine did cost me, you know, $2,000 to buy that planer, or you know, the table saw did cost me $500 to buy. The joiner did cost me $1,500. They're not free, right? But they don't get used as much as the CNC on a particular project. I might do my edges and all my rough milling, you know, to get things down to finish size that go to the CNC for the final cutting and all that stuff. They have their use, they have their, you know, their time and all that stuff. But we take their cost divided by their lifespan. That gives us our monthly breakdown for that little tool. And I say, like, a $2,000 tool is not a little tool, but it's those little use tools, right? The ones that aren't running all the time and everything like that. All right. So here's your rule. Major machines that get used repeatedly, okay, you enter them individually. Like if you, in your calculator and the product, if you ever got the product pricing calculator, you would enter those in individually, right? In your little notepad or whatever, those get there, you know, those machines, major machines that get used repeatedly, those have their own breakdown. Okay. Minor short use tools. they get accounted for. They're part of your overhead, and I've already told you how to figure that out. What did it cost you? How long you think it will last? Divide that. That gives you your monthly cost. Okay. Now, what matters most, okay, is every cost, everything has a home somewhere or another, whether it be clumped together in a small added together lump sum in our overhead, our fixed cost or whatever, or whether it's we break it down into the machine's hourly rate or whatever for pricing our project and all that stuff each hour. But you don't try to account every second for every machine and all, because then it would just be too crazy for you to try to price anything. It'd be like, I don't want to deal with this, and I'm just going to go back to guessing. Don't do that. That's what the calculator helps kind of relieve that stress. All right, so now here, okay. I really want to, there was one last thing I really want to harp on, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. We gotta still do the real world scenario here, but the word overhead sometimes throws people off, because I'm saying fixed costs, and I'm saying machine costs, and I'm saying rent and utilities and all that, and that's all overhead. Okay, overhead, the general term overhead. So overhead, the definition for you, okay, is everything that costs you money, even when your machines are turned off. Okay. It costs you money to buy that sander. It costs you money to buy that table saw. It costs you money to pay the electric rent, the mortgage, the property taxes, and all that. Don't care if your machine's on or you sell anything or whatever, you still have to pay. You still had to buy that machine. You still had to buy those router bits. You still paid that mortgage and that rent and that electricity. Those bills come, or they're there, and that's overhead. Okay. All of it needs to be included in your pricing some way or another, and it gets trickled over each project. You don't try to lump sum. Oh my God, my overhead is $1,400 a month. How do I put that $1,400 a month into this cutting board? It doesn't happen over to that cutting board, right? It gets broken down. And how long did it take that cutting board for you to make that cutting board and things? So now let's look at this in the real world scenario. And I've already showed you what my machine prices are. Now let's look at my material prices. That was the one that Burns, and I both agree on that. That's the most shocking, the cost of wood, right? And everything. So here's the real world scenario. Baltic birch plywood, 3/4 of an inch. 96 inches by 48 inches by 3/4 inches, or we're going to use the nominal measurements, not the 23/30 seconds, but $95 a sheet. I was able to get it at $95 a sheet. 1/2 inch Baltic birch plywood, $75 a sheet. My walnut, first and seconds, my quality walnut material, FAS, stands for first and seconds. Not, it's less defects and stuff. It's the ones that come off the line first, out of that lumber and timber yard and all that. It's called first and seconds, and that's your higher quality material and everything. My walnut, excuse me, is about $11 a board foot. Okay. For an 8-foot board, 7 1/4 inches wide, 1 inch or 3/4 inches thick. That is 380 board feet. That board cost me $53.13. And I say 3.8 board feet, not 380 board feet. 3.8 board feet. About $53.13 a board. Okay, one board. My hard maple, again, my quality hard maple, minor defects and everything, first and seconds, cuts and everything, is around $6.50 a board foot. An 8-foot board, 7 1/4 inches wide, 1 inch thick, a 4/4 board. We're going to stick with 4 quarters on this. $35.10, and it's about 4.8 board feet on that, and it's around $7.31 a board foot. 7.30, 7.20, 7.30. It ranges sometimes. My soft maple. Oops. Hold up. Let me get my foot in there. My soft maple boards, about $6 a board foot, $6.15, somewhere around there, a board foot. But about $28.98 for an 8-foot, 7 1/4, 1x8 type board. About $28.98. My cherry, again, low defects, first and second cuts, FAS cherry, cost me about $6 a board foot for my 4/4 board, 1 inch thick. And it cost me $6.75 a board foot for my 2 inch thick cherry, which is about $64 for the 8/4 cherry, $64 for an 8-foot, 7 1/4 inch wide board, 2 inches thick, $64 a board. And my 1 inch cherry, same dimensions, 8-foot by 7 1/4, around $29 a board. Okay, that's the material that I use in my shop. That's really the only material that I use. I don't really sell anything that's kind of pine or poplar or anything like that. I kind of stick with the main ones, your walnut, cherry, maple, and then I've got my Baltic birch plywood and all. And so by entering in my board costs and everything, it breaks down the board foot of that board, the cost per board foot, the cost per board, the volume, in this case, 691 cubic inches, and the price per cubic inch. It breaks it down to the cubic inch. Now, here's the deal. Let's go down to my walnut cutting board here, and then we're going to enter in. This is how we're going to end the show. Stick with me. We're almost done. But I'm going to show you one of my boards, and then we're going to actually put in the price. We're going to build the price of the Christmas sign, and we're going to see how close you were to your guesses and all that stuff. But let me just talk to you about the cutting board really quickly. My walnut cutting board. This cutting board is 16 inches by 12 inches, 3/4 inch thick. The production time, total time to make this board, total time, not just how long it was on the CNC machine, but from start to finish, the total time that it took to make this board, 120 minutes, 2 hours. Okay, start to finish. That's all my hands on everything. Now, of that, I have it's the walnut material for that cutting board. The machine that the primary machine for that project is my 4848 is what I make the cutting boards on now. And literally on that machine, it's a 15-minute run to do the juice groove and little surfacing, cleanup, and all that stuff because it is glued up. I do a surface cut on it, to surface it out. Then I do a juice groove cut on it. And so on the CNC, it's about 15 minutes. It gets run through the drum sander. A few passes on the drum sander. Realistically, it's probably on the drum sander about 5 minutes. Okay. So of that 20 minutes, that's kind of machining time, if you will. And then the rest of it is hands-on, any touch-up sanding that I'm going to be doing by hand, putting the finish on it, the glue up of the boards panel, the cutting of the boards and the gluing it up to make the blank that went on the CNC all together, not counting the drying time, how long it takes to dry. I'm talking about hands-on, actual hands-on, about 2 hours and 20 minutes, 128 minutes, 2 hours. All right. Now, if we go look at the product pricing on that board, okay, my labor, which includes the hourly rate I want to make, plus all my little overhead and everything per hour and all, is $32.15. That's the labor. Okay, that's the number. After all the little overhead and all that stuff was calculated and broke down by hour, added to what I want to make per hour, $32.15. Packaging. The actual bubble wrap and the packaging material, the little box, or not little box, but the packaging it goes into, about $4 in materials, for that. But the actual shipping, $11.75 shipping costs. Shipping, like what it cost me at the post office. The profit margin that I'd like to make, my desired or target profit margin on the things that I make is about 25%. Okay. So based on that, my overhead and all that stuff, my fixed costs, machine costs, all that stuff and everything, my variable costs, $54.97 for that cutting board. Okay. The margin, the contribution margin per unit is about $15 per unit. That profit margin, that's about, at that current price, that's about 21.8% profit. So I'm not hitting my 25 yet. Okay. And so if I go in and I recalculate that price, so let me load that back up and everything. Oops. It tells me what machines are being used and everything. My material cost summary. Here is the let me find my walnut cutting board. My material cost summary, there's 100 and what is my board broke down to? 144 cubic inches or something like that. It cost me about, in material, $14.76. Okay. $14.76 for the primary walnut. That's what it cost me. That's what the material cost me. The labor, my overhead, and my desired hourly rate and all that stuff, $32.15 an hour. The packaging material, all little box and all that, about $4. The store or platform fees, the processing fees and everything at the store. If I were selling this on Etsy, whatever the fee is that Etsy charges me, whatever PayPal charges me, those fees, right? It's about $5. And then my desired, like I said, profit margin about 25. Okay. So the when I update the pricing on this, okay, the total price on this is sell price for the cutting board is about $73.30. That's what I should be selling it for. Now, let's say that I want to be profitable each month. I want to make at least $1,000 in profit each month. And let's say that this cutting board was the only product that I had that I could sell. Okay, just as an example. To break even, just to break even what it cost me to stay in business, I'd have to sell 77 of those cutting boards. To be profitable, to make that $1,000 a month profit, I'd have to sell 131 cutting boards a month. Okay? So my break even, what pays the bills, what keeps the light on, I'd have to sell 77 of those cutting boards at $73.30. To be profitable, I got to sell 131 units a month. Okay, if I was only selling that one item. All right, let's end this with the actual Christmas sign. We're going to build it real time right now. So we're going to come down here in the calculator. Stay with me. This is the last hurrah. We're going to add a new product. For the product image, let me go to Vectric real quick. That's a terrible product image, but that's okay. We're going to save that image. We'll save it in our download folder. We'll call this our Christmas sign. I would actually carve it and take a finished glamour shot of it. But in our calculator here, let's set the image. Let's go to here. All right, we got our product image in there. This is going to be our Christmas. Let me learn how to spell Christmas. What was the wording I used in that? Believe in the magic of Christmas. Believe in the magic of. All right. So that's going to be my name of my product. The SKU here, this is going to be a sign. So it's going to be SGN is my call number that I use on my product IDs for sign, SGN. And for this one, it's going to be, what was my last? 130-001. Okay. Base price, I'm going to leave it 0 right now. The calculator is going to figure that one out for me, but there's only 1 per package. So you can do quantities, like if it's 10 per pack or this or that, like if it was coasters and things like that. 1 per package. The production time on this. Okay. So in we haven't actually carved it right, so I don't know the exact run time on the machine, but the estimated run time, according to Vectric, which again is an estimated run time, 3 hours and 33 minutes to run this project on the CNC. Okay. Production time is the glue up of the panel. You know, how long it'll take me to do the glue up, how long it's going to take to run on the machines, if I go run it through the drum sander and all that stuff. So it's going to take about 3 hours and 30 minutes on the CNC machine. The glue up, realistically, not counting the drying time, but the actual glue up and everything, I could probably knock that out in, I don't know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. You know, that's talking about taking it from my raw board to the joiner, planer, table saw to cut it down to size, gluing up the individual pieces and everything. I could probably, you know, 30, 45 minutes. then I got to do the finishing. There's on this, I would probably clear coat this. I don't think I would paint it or anything. So there would be just finish sanding and clear coat. And again, I would actually kind of, keep track on my first one. I'd keep track of my time and all that stuff and kind of see how long it literally took me to produce it. But let's say that last ending part, the touch-up sanding, cleaning up any little fuzzies and all that stuff, and the finish. Let's say that we'll call that an hour. We'll just say an hour. So we have 3 hours and 30 minutes, and we have an hour and 45 minutes. So that is 4 hours and 30 minutes, 5 hours and 15 minutes. So 5 hours and 15 minutes. Bear with me a second. 5 divided by, well, I don't know where that 8 came from, but 5 divided by 60. That's the wrong number. Where is that number coming from? 5 divided by 60. Did I do that right? 5 hours. I got to do this in a minute. I multiply by 60, right? 5 times 60. That's better. 5 times 60. 300 and then 15. 315 minutes. Okay. 315 minutes in minutes. All right. Now the shipping cost on this. Now this is a big one. It's not going to be no $11.75. I haven't weighed it, right? I haven't weighed it or anything like that to actually get a real shipping cost. So we're going to just kind of, just for right now, I want to be somewhat realistic. I'm going to say $28 for the shipping. The length of this was 28 inches long. The width of it was, we did 16.5 inches wide. It was 3/4 of an inch thick. It is going to be an active product. The primary material on this, I am going to, it's hardwood, and I'm going to choose, let's say that I make this one out of hard maple. No, let's make it out of cherry. This is going to be a cherry sign. Our 4/4 cherry board. We'll make it out of cherry. And the primary material on this, the length in inches, it's all cherry, right? So it's 28 inches in length. It is 16.5 inches and 3/4 inches on the material. That's how much material of that material got used in this project. 0.75. Now, you do, if there's any waste, and I'll count your waste and all that stuff too, that kind of goes in overhead a little bit. But, if your original blank was, 1 inch thick, and it was 29 inches by 17 inches, and you cut it down to 28 by 16, put the raw number in there. That's fine. Or the waste offcuts and everything can go in just kind of like, be a part of your overhead, but it's got to be accounted for. That's material. Waste is material. It costs money, right? So let's say that I made my blank 29 inches oversized. Let's say I made it 29 inches. Let's say by 17 inches, and let's say that after it glued up and everything, that was a 4/4 board. It was actually 1 inch thick when it came, there. But let's be realistic. I did run it through the planer and joiner, and I did bring it down to size. So let's at 3/4. It's 3/4. I did bring it down and everything, but I'm putting 1 because it did go into the wood. All right. So now, based on that, I have about 493 cubic inches of material in this project. Now, on the there's no secondary material on this. It's just that primary one. Now the machine, on my 4848, like I said, The estimated time on that was 3 hours and 30 minutes. So that's 180, 90, 210 minutes. Okay. It will run, I will probably run that through my Supermax. It probably, I mean, realistically, I'm going to say 6 minutes at the most. I mean, if it takes me more than 6 minutes to sand a board, then I got an issue with my drum sander. All right, so let's add that product. Hit save, not add the product, but save that product. Now let's go over. Here's the reveal, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're gonna reload our product inventory, and our Christmas board is here. Okay, we're gonna on this, the labor, again, my labor rate doesn't change from board to board. It's $32.15. The desired amount that I'd like to make plus all my overhead costs broken down by hour, $32.15. Okay, it doesn't change. My packaging on this one's a little bit bigger. I don't, again, I'd have to kind of, break it down. Again, I would, I know what my packaging cost me when I go to the post office and buy all the bubble wrap and all that. I would probably, I'd measure about how much I use or whatever. I have a little roller that it comes off of, and I can rip off the bubble wrap and the paper, the wrapping paper and all that stuff. But let's say it was about $7 in packaging material. Again, 25% profit margin, desired profit margin is what I want. So I'm going to recalculate my price. And it would help if I actually put the cutting board in there. There we go. Recalculate my price. The stop doing that. There we go. All right. So my sale price, let's see how close y'all were. I don't know why I was sitting there, keep clicking. You didn't have to. It put the price in there, but when it put the price in there, it put it back into my lead of the list. All I had to do was reselect it again. But $128.65 is the sell price for that sign. Okay. So let's go back and let's kind of look. I'm going to scroll back in the chat and everything. To be profitable, I have to sell that sign for $128.65 to cover my overhead, my machine costs, my fixed costs, my labor, kind of overhead. To be profitable, my material costs, all that, I got to sell this for $128.65 per sign. So we had prices in the chat of $300, $45, $75, $75 using pine, 1,000 pesos, right? $54.89 in freedom dollar. Let's see here. So, how many of you, by a show of hands, were surprised at that price? Right? Now, here's the deal. Here's the rub of it all. Okay? If I were just selling this sign, if this was my only product, okay, on this product alone, right here, this product and everything, and let's say I want to make $1,000 a month profit. That's my goal, is to make $1,000 every month in profit. Okay. But this is my only item in my inventory. All right. Now that monthly profit, let me just emphasize this. That desired profit that I want to make every month would be broken out over all of the products that I sell, to get my break even and my, my profit, sales numbers and all. But right now we're talking about this one item. Okay. In order to make $1,000 profit each month, or in order to break even each month, that means to keep the lights on, to pay my bills every month, I'd have to sell 43 of these signs every month to break even, or 75 of these signs every month to be profitable. Okay? To make $1,000 a month, I'd have to sell 75 of these signs a month. Hustle, 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 right? But now keep in mind, this is just showing me the numbers for this one product. Okay? My profit, desired profit every month, if I want to make $5,000 a month, $2,000 a month, $1,000 a month profit, that profit is broken down over all the products that I sell, right? How much do I have to sell of all my products to break even? We want to break even at least, right? We want to keep the lights on and pay the bills, right? The bills that come regardless if we sell anything or not. We want to break even at least at a minimum. But we also want to profit, right? So how many do we have to sell to be profitable, to make that desired profit every month? And on this one sign here, I'd have to sell it for $128.65. That's to pay for the materials that it costs to make it, the machine time that it costs to make it, the labor rate that I, and my overhead and everything like that, the percentage it all gets and all that stuff. That sign is $128 out the door at a minimum. Now I could sell it for more than that, but this is what I need to sell it for to make 25% profit on it. Okay. That's my 25% profit margin after all of my bills are paid. Right. Or, the portion of all the bills are paid. Right. And everything. So of that, just so you know, of that $128.65, 96 of that goes towards your costs, what it costs you. The cost for the wood, the cost for your overhead, the cost for your light bill, phone bill, cable mortgage, all that stuff, And that what was the runtime? 210 minutes. Let's see, 300. What was it? 315 minutes of production on that unit. 315 minutes. It cost the company $96 to manufacture that unit. Okay. And my 25% markup that pays for that cost, what it costs me to make that, and then make 25% on top of it, I got to sell it for $128.65. Okay. So in closing, the website link here, I'm going to throw it in chat. Take a look at it, read about it, read the guides that teach you about, let's see, there's still more guides to come, but, labor rates and fixed costs, for home-based businesses and stuff. And I've got some other, some other topics I have is scoping a job before quoting, estimating labor and machine time, applying your target margins constantly. Those are articles that I'm in the process of writing. I'll get those on there and all, but under the guides and everything. There's some frequently asked questions on here about the software and stuff, and what the system requirements are, what the pricing is and everything, what the features, what this calculator actually does for you and all. But know this, silver exclusive members. You get $30 off if you use the coupon code Silver Exclusive. Let me get the coupon code. I thought I had them memorized. I made a post about this once. I'll type the coupon codes in the chat if you're interested. Again, it's just another thing that helps support the channel. If you felt like you learned anything out of this. All right, so let's go to catalog, coupons. SpindleTV Silver members. Oh my gosh, it's easy. SpindleTV Silver, all capital letters. SpindleTV Silver. All right. That'll save you $30. Use that at the checkout. Now, gold members, I can't give your coupon code out here live and all because it's really only for you to be able to use. So if you email me, put the email in the chat, laney.shaughnessy@spindletv.com. I'll email you your coupon code and you'll get 50% off, which is $45 off, 40 something off. You get a 50% discount. You get gold, silver and gold. Let me see here. $50 off. You get $50 off, gold members. And in the chat, laney.shaughnessy at SpindleTV.com. There's the email address. If you emailed me, if you're a gold member, ask for the coupon code, and I'll be able to send it back to you. All right, and you get a $50 discount. Now, just so you know, this calculator and all is a $99 retail, so it'd be $45 off, or $45 for those gold members, and it would be $66 for silver members, and that's a one-time lifetime fee for the version. It's not a subscription; it's a one-time purchase. And if you ever wanted to, I don't want to end on a sales note, but that's just something for you. All right. Hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, that you learned something in pricing projects and everything that's involved with pricing. And, the key thing is getting your labor rate, right? Understanding the labor rate is your desired, what you want to make at the end of the year, what you want to make, you. But also, it also includes your overhead, your fixed cost, your monthly fixed cost, all the things that your business has to pay, regardless of if you sell anything, divided by an hour. That monthly cost that it costs you every month, divided by your hour, per hour. Break it up, divided by 30 days in the month, divided by 24 hours in a day. That extra cost, right? Whatever your out that is, and that gets added to your hourly rate. So if you want to make $25 an hour, realistically, your real number is about $45 an hour labor, costs. Okay. All right. I hope you learned something. I hope you got something out of this long class. And I hope it was useful to you. I mean, that's the whole part, is teaching you how to make things, yes, but also how to be profitable, how to have a home-based business or a business in general, and how you look at that business, how you figure out your costs, and how you figure out your machine rate and all that stuff. Now, I don't know if it surprised you or not, but on the machines, right, that $12,000 machine, we try to think about, how much do I want? I charge $33 an hour for my machine to run. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's what you want your labor costs and stuff to be and everything. But realistically, your machine, that $12,000 machine over its 7-year life, running 6 hours a day for 62 days a year, your hourly rate for that machine realistically is $1.03 an hour. True. Your true machine rate, right? And that gets added into that 15 minutes it costs to run that machine for that board, you know, and then the drum sander, that 37 cents an hour that it costs for the, and then times the 5 or 6 minutes that it runs, right? That's your machine cost. When you say, I want my machine to, I charge $33 an hour, you're thinking labor, not machine. Your real machine costs are the machine's price over its life and term, its salvage value, you know, broken down by the hour. And that 48.48 cost me about 2 pennies, 2 cents a minute to run. Okay, cool beans. Hopefully you learned something. All right, everybody. I'm going to say good night in the chat. And I hope, I don't know how many stayed with me through it all, but hopefully y'all all stayed. $150. There you go. You were close on that. All right. All right, everybody. Until next time. Yes. Looks like you're getting great results on the pricing calculator efforts. Thanks, Laney. Yeah, I mean, I've probably sold about 4 or 5, you know. You know, they're not flying off the shelf for that calculator, but the more that people realize how much it'll help and what it'll do and what's to come, just to understand something, just so realistically you can understand something. This is my rollout over the year. The modules are add-ons, right? So the with the pricing calculator down the road, what I have planned is that it's going to be, there'll be an inventory tracker, which will be able to track all your nuts and bolts and screws and everything, all your hardware, all your wood. And whenever you do create a project and add it in, it deducts from the inventory so you know what you have on hand and what you have on hand, how many products you can fully produce of that cutting board, of this, of that jewelry box, based on what inventory you have on hand. So the inventory manager add-on will be, will be one of the things coming down the road. Job costing and batch planner, what it costs to do a job, and everything. Tool manager. So all your router bits now, when your router bits are running on the CNC machine, they're wearing down with every cut, right? And so your tool manager, which manages your CNC bits and shop tools, it tracks the lifetime, your sharpening intervals, the cost per job for your tools, right? The little router bits and all, what it costs you per job for tools. So that tool manager is going to be another add-on. Your marketing templates, it's going to be an exportable sales sheet, by the way, that already has an exportable sales sheet on there. Let me really quickly on this product, let me export on the Christmas tree. Let me export the pricing report. Yes. And let me go open that real quick. So this is the report of that product. It's an active product. The base price is $128.65. That's the sell price. The shipping cost is $28. The length of the board, how many minutes it takes to produce. The material cost, total material cost was $20.67. The total labor, $32.15. The packaging material stuff was $7. the platform fees, my credit card processing fees and all that stuff, $5. The machine cost, that machine cost, $3.66 machining time. The total variable cost altogether was about $96 of that, right? And so the breakdown, my monthly fixed cost is $1,411 each month, regardless if I sell anything. My yearly cost is $16,000. My machine purchase price was $12,000. The lifespan span is $700. Of that, my total hourly cost on that machine is $1.03, you know, for that primary machine. And I'd have to sell 43 units to break even, or 75 units to profit, right? So that little report comes out, you know, for each product. But anyway, that being said, the going back to the rollouts down the road, invoicing and billing, you know, being able to create invoices from your products and your material and everything, that the invoice calculates everything, and, you know, being able to create quotes, record customers, you know, keep track of your customers and everything, your product pricing and stuff. And then eventually cloud syncing, you know, if you have a team of people and you need to share the product among your team so they can all work with it and all that stuff, cloud sharing and setting up accounts, individual accounts and all that stuff. So these are all things that you know, calculator is going to grow into over the months or years, or not months, but the year. But you know, right now it's a product pricing calculator, but eventually it's going to be, and you can, all your materials, all your products, all your everything, you can export them out as a CVS report and bring them right into any one of your spreadsheets if you want to, or anything right now. So you can create a CVS document of all the materials and all the products and stuff. If you want to like keep track of something in it, like your sales tracker or whatever, in a spreadsheet, your own spreadsheet, export it right out as a CVS already. So anyway, enough said on that. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Thank you for your time tonight. I really appreciate you. And we'll catch you later. JR, stick around if you need to ask me any questions. All right. See you.